YouTube links up. Good day, everybody. Welcome to episode 64 of the Drew Pavlu Show. Josh, thank you for joining us. Josh is here in person at the studio. This is the first time that I've had someone. I think this is the first time I've had someone in the studio. Although my friend did help me build the PC live. We'll be talking Israel-Iran conflict today. It's obviously things are getting very heated. If you're watching, please, hello Soso. I've got the comments on the screen. Hello Soso. Thanks for the first comment, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like. Very important to help the show. Go on YouTube and leave a like. I'm just going to quickly share the link on my Discord before we start. So give me a minute or two. I'm just going to send the link out. I encourage everyone to join my Discord too. It's always good. Streaming live. So this is episode 64 in 66 days. I've got 2 to catch up on. We're doing relatively okay with the 100-day challenge. 8 people only on YouTube so far. Guys, if you watch on YouTube, leave a like so YouTube will recommend us to more people. Very important, very crucial. And let me know. Comment if you're watching. John says, hey, Drew, if you need an opinion from an actual Israeli currently in Tel Aviv, let me know. Damn, okay, interesting, man. How are things right now? Tell us how you're going. Thomas, how you going? Yeah, John, how are things right now? Are you in a bomb shelter? Damn, how are things right now? That's actually pretty fucked up.
Can we get him on?
Yeah, can we get you on? I'd put you on the stream, man. If you how can I get in touch with you? Let me know as well if you need an opinion from a person. Yeah, honestly, I'm interested. Are you guys on my Discord? If you're on my Discord, message me and I'll send you the link and you can join the stream. Be interesting. If you guys want to join the stream, we'll have some live commentary. Now, Josh, do you want to also introduce yourself to the people?
Oh, I'm halfway through posting stuff. Give me 1 second.
Okay. All good. All right. No worries. Apparently, there's supposed to be a surprise right now that the world will remember for centuries, according to Iran. So,
according to Iran, you say?
Yeah, according to Iran, it's supposed to. Apparently, it's supposed to be the surprise to end all surprises for all centuries. Drew, you are elite. Just stay the course, homie. Thank you, bro. Thank you so much. Make sure, go to my YouTube, guys. If you're watching on Twitter, go to my YouTube, subscribe, and leave a like. I have to go in 10 minutes, otherwise I'll join. Okay, so that's a shame. That'd be interesting. But yeah, honestly, John, if you want to join the stream, I'd love to have you on the stream. Just message me on Discord or something like that. I can send you the link. I'm gonna quickly I'll get up the news. 1 second. So this is very funny. Tucker Carlson was found on a Foreign Agents Registration Act filing. So Tucker Carlson was paid to interview the Prime Minister of Qatar on the subject of war with Iran. Like, he literally got paid by Qatar. It's crazy. Hey, can you discuss it with Armin from Atheist Republic? I don't think I know Armin, but I would sure. I went to my office today. Rocket attack intensity. The number of rockets per attack has dropped quite a bit, but we're still getting around 5 alarms daily. I did read that that the recent rocket barrages have been really small compared to the first night. John says, can't join the stream. I'm supposed to be working. Oh, that's a shame. We'll have you on another time, man. But I appreciate your commentary as well. I appreciate your commentary. China's ambassador to Ukraine here taking photos of sites in Kiev hit by Russian missiles. Wow. Sending pics to Russia to help them hit Ukraine civilians better. I think that's actually true. Wow. That's horrendous. What Russia is doing in Ukraine is just horrendous. G'day, Steve. Thanks for joining us, mate. Always great to have you on. I don't know how many. I don't know how many missiles Iran has left. They're dropping. The missile attacks are dropping in intensity. Khamenei launching an OnlyFans account. The surprise that the world will remember for centuries.
Would subscribe.
This is actually the best post I've ever seen. So Syria Girl was saying, if Iran falls, Russia and China will follow. Syria's fall is what led to this. Fucking base. Please let it happen. That'd be so unbelievably fucking awesome and goated. If Iran falls, Russia and China will follow. Please, God, it'd be fucking goated. It'd be fucking goated. Please, please, please.
I completely forgot about her.
She's still going. She's still going.
Fuck, yeah.
She's still going, which is amazing. Yes, Steve is right. Guys, if you're watching on the YouTube, smash the like button. Very fucking important. Smash the like button. YouTube will recommend us to more people, help us build the show. Most persons just want the regime gone and don't care about the actual conflict, and they don't want any civilians to get hurt, obviously. Yeah, I agree with that. Drew, can you give some credit to Trump for helping Israel defeat the Iranian men? Listen, it's one of the few things I think he's gotten right. I think he's right to fucking strike the nuclear program. Do not allow Iran to get nukes. We've got actually some Iran propagandists here. Long live Iran against Zionists like you. Thank you, Imam. Imam, join the stream. I'll send you the link. You can debate us live if you want, Imam.
Wow.
It's good to have somebody from the other side. I'll literally send you the link, Imam. Send us the link. How can I get this guy? I want him to come on the show and we'll debate.
Oh, I'd love to. I need some fucking headphones.
That'd be I mean that would be fuck the head. Yeah, get your headphones.
But can we even connect these to yours? Here?
I think so. Let's see. So audio, speaker. Okay, hang on. You know what I can do? I can send you the StreamYard link as well. You log in, and then that way you can hear it on yours. Because I think through this one login, it only has one speaker output.
A huge delay though?
No. It'll be like the exact same. Because you don't have to turn on your camera or anything. Just literally turn on the audio.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, I'll send you the stream link. I'll send it to you on Twitter Messenger. Because I don't have iMessage on my PC.
I can't open.
Oh, I could send it to you on Substack, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, actually, I've got you here. Yeah, okay. Okay, 4 normal people.
All right, so I guess it's probably time. I'm gonna oh my god, I'm so
hang on, I'm just sending
multitasking. Fuck.
Hang on, okay, I'm just sending you the. Oh shit! Hang on, how do I message you? 4 normal. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, sending you the link on Substack.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, sent to you. Yeah. All right. Amit says, I don't think the IRGC have much time left. I actually agree. To be honest, I think the conflict with Iran might end by next week. I don't know how many missiles Iran still has, right, to attack. Josh Dabelstein essays, my friend in New Zealand, we're going to talk about it. What? Iran is going to be a disaster. The best case scenario is that it devolves into a Libya scenario where there's complete societal collapse. The worst case scenario is troops in Iran. Con, that's just not correct, man. That's not correct. The regime is very unpopular in Iran. The people of Iran don't want to live under the regime. There's not potential for massive sectarian conflict as well, which is because there are some analysts about the Iraq war who actually believe that Iraq would have gone through a civil war in the mid-2000s, even if America hadn't invaded. Iran is a very different situation. There's a lot more sectarianism in Iraq.
I have no idea what that means. SA is my friend in.
Yeah, I don't know what this guy means, Alpaca. A regime change won't make Iran democratic. I think it can make Iran democratic. Gabriel's a funny guy. I get the point when people say Iran has been 6 months from having a nuclear bomb for 20 years, but also that's at least partly because every time they get close, the Mossad blackmail a nuclear scientist into opening an email attachment that derails the plane for another 5 years. Yeah, that's a face facade moment. Easy Money. Hello, Easy Money. How you going, man? Iran. Yeah. Stop the count. They did a stop the count meme with the Khamenei. I love it. Stop the count. Stop the count. Beautiful. If Mike Pence has the courage. Holy shit, they've managed to shoot down one single Israeli drone in the entire course of the conflict. They're getting creamed, man. They are not doing well. Guys, thank you to everybody who's tuning in on the YouTube. Guys, if you're tuning in on YouTube, I think we've got 10 likes on the stream. Leave a like on the stream to help us reach more people. It's very important. I think we've got 31 people watching live now. If you're watching live on YouTube, leave a like on the stream. YouTube will recommend us to more people. It's extremely important. Thank you, guys. Please leave a like. Please leave a like. We want to build up the viewership. Very important.
All right. I'm here. I'm alive.
You got it?
I think I'm done with my adminning. I put all this like stuff on my computer so that I couldn't use it for stuff that I love doing.
Oh, the anti. Yeah. Is Syria a democracy now? Syria is literally infinitely better than it was under Assad. If Bonnie Blue offered Drew, would you do it? No, that's fucked up, man. I would go. That's sick. That's sick. I would. That is one of the most cursed and disgusting images of all time.
Is Syria 100 times better right now than it was under Assad?
It literally is like many times better than what it was under Assad. Like Assad was killing people every single day with barrel bombs. Like he was a sick guy.
Yeah, but what do you say to those who are like, yeah, but right now there's a lot of instability. We have no idea how things are going to go in the next 5 years. Things could actually get worse.
Listen, I honestly, so far, Bashar al-Assad was so fucking evil that it's very hard for anything to be worse than that.
Well said.
MW says, Israel didn't even let Iran have a nuclear power production for civilian use when France was collaborating with them to make sure they followed international oversight back in the 80s. Yeah, so true, bro. We can really trust that. King Karin says Syria is worse under Giuliani. They were killing non-Muslims in droves. Listen, there has been instances of sectarian violence, but based on my current understanding, there's not been genuine like massacres. Okay, there's been sectarian violence. It's horrible, but honestly, the scale of what Assad was doing, he killed nearly 1 million people. It's very hard to be worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard. There's going to be a lot of Druze, for example, right?
Oh, the Druze, not Drew Pavlov, the Druze, the Druze of Syria. Yes.
I don't know, like. I know it's complicated and their position is not necessarily typical, given they're a minority, but having a look at the way in which the Druze seem to operate within Israeli society, and then the way in which the Druze seem to operate when Israel and Syria are punching on, is really strange. And I heard some different people, a couple of media analysts told me a couple of very different things based on the exact same information but different hypotheses. The one I thought was really interesting was actually, there's a lot of people, a lot of like Australian Jews, for example, who are like, look, what the Druze are doing, right, demonstrates how much better Israel is. Obviously, they would much rather cooperate with Israel than Syria. And I'm like, well, it's a pretty fucking low bar over in Syria. But this analyst was saying to me, that's not a good thing, right? Like that doesn't actually help the Israelis during a time of war.
The what thing?
The Druze all of a sudden being like, well, not all of a sudden, but making it really clear. There were all these Druze that were like, we defect to Israel.
Oh yeah.
Up, just on the other side of the Golan Heights, and it was a really interesting take because like the propaganda element for Jews or Zionists is like see, but then the strategic side was like actually no. Like, that's not the kind of fucking conversation we want to have right now about, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Wait, someone goes, so you trust Israel with nukes with no international oversight? Like yes. Israel hasn't nuked anybody, whereas Iran would nuke. If Iran had a nuclear weapon, they'd nuke Israel like straight away almost.
Well, how many times has Israel threatened to wipe Iran off the map with nukes?
That's true. Like compared.
How many times has Israel threatened to wipe any single country off the map, right?
With nukes, never. We've got how many people have liked the stream? Let's see. We've got,
to be honest, got
11 likes. Guys, if you're watching the YouTube stream, you have to leave a like. It's very important.
What I think is really interesting, Drew, like something that I actually want to put to whoever's watching this.
Yeah.
Pre-October 7, or rather pre the bombing of Gaza by Israel, pre the abject destruction of Gaza, would people be saying the same things? Would people be as disturbed by this unfairness? Iran is not allowed to have nukes, but Israel is.
Yeah, and I get your point.
I think a lot of people have become very, very radicalized and
That's true.
Quite understandably. So, how many kids can you see get dragged out from under rubble?
It's horrible. It's obviously horrible. Yeah.
People. Our generation has a lot more evidence immediately available of terrible things Israel does than terrible things Iran does. Right? Like it actually requires a book.
Well, this is the fucked up thing, right? Like Iran helped Assad kill more than 500,000 Syrians, right? But that wasn't broadcast on social media every second. Like people don't even know about it. I mean, do people even know, for example, Hassan Piker was shilling the Houthis. He doesn't know that the Houthis put the town of Taiz in Yemen under starvation siege for 5 years.
I reckon he
It-
does.
I don't know. Like, these guys are fucking. They don't know much about the Middle East though. Like they don't know like the Houthis have committed these horrific acts. If they do and they still shield the Houthis, that's fucking evil as.
How could you spend that much time behind a computer screen and not just Google, type into ChatGPT? ChatGPT.
Well, he's retarded, dude.
Tell me a little bit about the fucking.
I know, but he's actually retarded. Think about that. Like he's not gonna. The only people he's gonna read are people who love the Houthis.
Is the mic picking both of us up?
Yeah, guys, can you hear both of us? I think you can. I think people can.
I've been influenced.
King of Corinth says Western pro-Palestinians are the new Just Stop Oil. That's actually fact check true. Like all these climate activists all flipped over to doing like Gaza activism the second it started. And someone said do a Democratic Iran Hoi 4 run. I actually will. I've got to still change something with my PC because unfortunately the PC settings were still really slow when I was trying to play it on stream.
I don't know, I feel like there might be more than the Just Stop Oils.
What do you say?
I feel like there's a lot the catchment area for becoming anti-Israel. I don't like to use the word pro-Palestine about these people.
Well, they're not really pro-Palestine.
there's
They just hate Israel.
They're not pro anything, right? Me Dabelstein's voice is on the quieter side.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll put the mic a little bit closer.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I love that the sentence starts with me.
Yeah. Europeans just don't want Middle Eastern refugees flooding into Europe. Most don't care. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Turkey's not going to allow refugees into Europe.
Should we
I really like this guy. This guy's got a really good Twitter account. He's Romanian. He's really smart about the Middle East. The Islamic Revolution of Ruhollah Khomeini, of the 1 million human wave martyrs of the Iraq War, and of Haj Qasem is about to be ended by Laura Loomer. The modern world has its amusing bits. Holy shit. Apparently Laura Loomer is calling the shots in Trump's decisions on bombing Iran. Holy fuck, that's pretty bad. I have to admit that's pretty bad.
This timeline is so fun.
I do think that's pretty bad, but
and by fun I mean horrifying.
Aiden, how you going, man? Aiden, how are you over there? What's the situation like? Are you guys safe? Are you in a bomb shelter? Adam, Turkey isn't letting refugees into Europe right now. Did you see the post Trump made criticizing Tucker Carlson? That was amazing. That was critical support to Trump on that one against Tucker Carlson. That was funny, actually. Aiden says, I'm good, almost no alarms. What city are you in at the moment, Aiden? By the way, guys, thank you for watching. Leave a like on the stream, the Drew Pavler Show. You have to leave a like. It helps us reach more people. Aiden is in his own war against fake tweets. Yeah, Baden Panada has targeted him really fucking viciously. Holy shit, how could this tweet? You stormed the mountains of Kurdistan and the marshes of the Shat El Arab at 17 years old, only so that Laura Loomer can kill you at 64. That's so fucking depressing. If you were a hardcore, like, sort of Iran guy, you'd be fucking so sad right now. It's so over for them. It really is.
Wow.
It really is so fucking over for them. Laura Loomer literally decides your fate. It's fucking over for you. If the majestic axis of resistance can be the fate of the axis of resistance can be decided by Laura Loomer, it's so fucking over, guys. It's so over for the axis of resistance. Laura Loomer is fucking calling in airstrikes. She's got like the fucking 50 kill nuke streak from like COD. It's fucked up. Laura Loomer, that's actually scary.
Oh, I really want to get one of these guys on. Who was the bloke before the pro IRGC guy?
Who?
Wasn't there a pro IRGC?
Oh, there was some guy in the comments who was pro IRGC, and I asked him to come on, and he just ignored us.
Do you have transparency on those headphones?
Well, what do you mean?
Can you hear me? Or is it?
Yeah, no, I can hear you. Better Laura Loomer than Tucker Carlson. It's so much better. Honestly, it's if you had to choose who's running Americans, the United States of America, Laura Loomer or fucking Tucker, I'd literally blow my brains out. That said, she's marginally better than Tucker, I think. Laura Loomer is coming for Cyprus next. No, I heard Laura Loomer is going to liberate northern Cyprus from Turkish occupation. We're hearing this more and more. I just got a radio signal from Laura Loomer. She's going to call in the American.
She's calling it in.
Yeah, she's calling it in on. They're going to liberate northern Cyprus.
I'm sorry. I have great news for you, actually.
Laura, she's going to liberate. She's going to liberate Famagusta. All the towns of northern Cyprus that were ethnically cleansed, we're taking them back because Laura Luma is announcing the bombing raid. What the fuck's this post? A lot of progressives seem to have the interest. There's someone who's persecuted.
All right, I'm just checking the lag. Whoa.
Was it? The lag's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all right. It's
Drew, when's the 23 and me coming in? I do have to do that still. I haven't had a chance to do it yet because I was just finishing off my last essay.
Wait, what did you do it?
I'm going to do a 23 and me test.
Have you like done the?
I haven't done it yet. I have to order one in. I
did one.
Really? How'd you get it? Okay, let's see. I'm interested.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, what'd you get?
I nailed it, man.
Allahu Akbar, Komini Rabah. Holy shit, guys. Like, this is getting ended by Laura Luma. How fucking crazy is that? Wow. It's fucking crazy. This guy, Minia, he's got such a good Twitter. He's actually probably my favorite. I'd say, like, literally my favorite poster.
Fuck, my X, like when I type in X,
yeah,
and it takes you to kind of the whatever X you've like just gone to. I've most looked at Marine Faruqi.
Oh, Marine Faruqi, she's so cursed.
Tweet. So every time I open X, it goes straight to Marine.
That's evil as hell. That's cursed as hell. Why is Luma so influential? I think it's because she's literally fucking Trump. I'm not even kidding. I think she's literally sleeping with Trump. I'm pretty sure that's literally why. Isn't it? Like, I'm not even trying to be funny here. Like, I'm pretty sure, like...
How do you think... This is a serious question, Drew. Like...
How good's this post? America first is whatever President Trump says it is. Holy fuck, dude.
Drew?
Yeah?
Like, you know when you look at someone and you kind of... You know that they're like a pervert, right?
Yeah.
How do you think Trump on a first date, like what does he try to pull off in bed? Like,
oh, that's fucked up. I don't even want to think about that, dude. Laura Luma, I don't necessarily see what Trump sees in her, but she'd probably have crazy energy. I reckon she's got crazy energy.
That's what I mean, though.
Yeah, she'd probably have
some. You know where I'm going?
Oh, she'd be a freak. Okay, look, Laura Luma would be a freak. I don't like it, but she'd be a freak. Oh, by the way, Josh, there's some schizo. This guy's Greek Orthodox, and he's got like the checkers as his thing. And Dabelstein, he's like really obsessed with Jews.
Oh, he likes Germans.
So actually, Josh is Jewish, by the way. Like, good bloke.
But like, let's just give everybody. Okay, so introduce myself. You asked me to earlier. I didn't do it. I'm a writer. I've been published in the last 6 months in the AFR, the Sydney Morning Herald, the Age, the Australian.
Good on you. Good
the
list.
ABC, Jewish, the what is it? The Australian Jewish News. So I've been around a bit. It's pretty kind of broad ideological spectrum that I've managed to piss across. My name is Joshua Dabelstein. The surname sounds very Jewish. I actually do happen to be Jewish, but my surname is German. My dad is a German. So ironically enough, I'm often kind of like immediately assumed to be Jewish because of my surname, but it's German. My mum's the Jew. And her surname is not Dabelstein. If it had been, their marriage and consummation and production of children would have been very illegal, and I would probably have 11 or more fingers.
Drew wants Laura Luma. You heard it here first. No,
who did Josh rank on his ballot?
Thankfully for you, Jewish lineage is matrilineal. So true, Peter. So true.
Easy money. True. Are you talking about the most recent federal election?
Oh wait. Oh, easy money. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who's that?
Guy. Oh, he's like a good chat. He's a top chatter of mine. Who did Josh rank on his ballot?
Fuck, I know who I didn't rank. I did everything I could to put the Greens absolute last.
I literally put Greens last.
And then I went backwards. I'm obviously below the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that problem.
I actually did put Greens last.
Yeah.
Interesting. They're talking about Taiwan. If China does take Taiwan by 2027, like he says, I can see China trying to do a mass decapitation strike of hundreds of helicopters flying into Taipei. There are no good beaches for amphibious assault, so China has been building these very long barges right out in the open. You can buy commercial imagery of them. There's no for those that exist other than to see. So then this is the response. What? There actually are a pretty good number of suitable beaches on the west coast of Taiwan. The reason for that invasion barges isn't for a lack of beaches, but rather to provide a means to use China's immense non-amphibious RO fleet to deliver huge quantities of vehicles over those beaches without the need to capture a port. 2027 date isn't a date by which Xi has said China will take Taiwan, but rather the timeline by which he has directed the PLA to be ready to invade Taiwan. While many observers assume we can execute a full blockade of the Strait of Malacca. That task would be much harder than it looks. Too many merchants, including en route to our allies. Too much internationalization of trade. How can you tell which ships are really going to China? Too few USN ships do that and fight the PLA Navy, and all of it has to happen under the umbrella of the PLA rocket force. That is fucking hard. That is fucking hard. Peter says, my DNA was 98% Greek, 2% Serb, so I'm a Serbian nationalist. Beautiful, mate. Drew, are you still at UQ? I'm a few years behind. Not sure what happened. I'm finishing off like the last couple of courses for my degree this year. And I'm also studying law as well.
Were you able to start to pick up where you left off?
Yeah, I was. Is Josh a start handler? Yes. Did Josh put labor number 1?
Maybe.
He says maybe. Drew's DNA, 95% Turk, 5% Greek. Fact check true. Are the Jews interfering with the state of origin tonight? Can you confirm, Josh? Can you confirm whether this is correct?
Are they what?
Are the Jews going to interfere with the state of origin tonight?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Okay. Right. Who are you backing?
Who am I backing, or
who are you going to interfere with the state of origin in favor of?
Me telling you what happens would be akin to insider trading.
Okay. All right. Just tell me something. Tell me quietly so I can go on sports bet.
The Maroons are supposed to take a fall in the 3rd round.
Oh, fucked up. Blake Hertzinger is a really smart guy. He's in the US Navy. Full blockade of the Strait of Malacca is absolutely moronic. It will never happen. It's stupid to even talk about like it's possible. But because influential senior people insist on talking about it, we have to at least count for the possibility that someone might try it, which would be a folly of enormous magnitude. Okay, I'm going to retweet that. That's interesting. He's like a US Navy analyst, that guy. Wrap this up, Drew. I want to watch the state of origin.
Oh yeah, when's Origin 2?
When is it? I should stream it. I should fucking stream it.
We're supposed to talk about Iran.
I know. I could stream it though.
I feel like the Queensland, New South Wales is akin to the.
So look at this, right? This is their retarded take. Every conflict is World War II. Every adversarial leader is Hitler. Everyone tried to avoid war like shit. They're like every conflict is Iraq. Every adversarial leader is reasonable to deter what America and Israel are responsible for every conflict. Everyone arguing for peace through strength is a warmonger. The Iraq War justifies we never protect our interests militarily under any. This is literally like their fucking retarded view. I'm retweeting that.
Where do these people fucking come?
These people who think every single war in history is the Iraq War, I fucking hate it. It's so dumb. I was fucking 3 when it happened, so I didn't get brain rot from it. When the Great Revolution ends in 2 months or in 20 years, it will be just as it was with communism. People will not really be radically hateful. They will be perplexed and annoyed at the realization that 2 to 3 generations lived and suffered for no real purpose. Communism was not achieved and the Mahdi didn't return. There was no purpose and reason to any of it. Yup, facts. I'm retweeting. That's such a good tweet. This guy's fucking smart. That's illegal to stream the state of origin. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. You can say this gotcha question, but it would be that.
See Hannah Ferguson on your stream.
Oh, I fucking hate Hannah Ferguson. Did you see my thing the other day? I had a big fight with. Oh, not a big fight, but I was just complaining about it, and I ended up smashing a glass.
No.
Right, because we were talking about she started shilling like vibrators made in China, and she's like selling it as like a for-profit venture.
Mm.
And I just was saying like this is such a sign of Australian national decline. Like, we can't even make the vibrators in Australia. 2. That everything is just a vibrator drop shipping operation at this point. Where are the fucking Charles de Gaulle's? Where are the great statesmen of history and the philosophers? And this is what I had a big crash out rant about it, and I almost cried and I threw a glass. It's actually pretty smart, actually.
They're all turning to Andrew Tate because their girlfriends are fucking themselves.
Fact check true. I bet you could beat Dave Smith in a debate. I think Dave Smith's retarded. You can say this is a gotcha.
Dave Smith actually, I mean, he is retarded though.
All right, well, let's watch this. This is look. It's a sad thing that Tucker's. It's a sad thing when Tucker is
how many people live
smarter than fucking Ted Cruz.
living around, by the way? I don't know the population at all. No, I don't know the population.
So dumb that look, Ted Cruz is an educated guy. Went to Princeton, went to Harvard, I think. Couldn't say the population of Iran off the top of his head. Dude, it's like literally a Wikipedia question. You can say this is a gotcha question, but it would be in the first 2 bullets in any brief he should have had before during the interview. So he either didn't read it or didn't ask one. Either option highlights levels of arrogance that could power a city. Yeah, fact check true. I'll agree with that. Blake's great. Blake's got a really good Twitter, actually. US Navy guy. Just History Speaks. Oh, History Speaks is just like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to deal with him. He's just a very pro-Hamas guy, and it's hard to have a conversation with him. It's very difficult because they post this horrible war footage, and it's very difficult because you can't even, nothing can be verified. It's really difficult. We all know that Hamas has faked footage in the past, etc.
I have this thing, Drew, and this might be insane, but first to admit it.
Guys, do you agree?
feel like-
Zoran's so true. Queer liberation means defund the police. That's actually so fucking
Drew, I
true.
feel like when people never believe the footage that you give them or that I give them,
Yeah.
unless I kind of unilaterally, in good faith, be like, okay, whatever you give me, I'm just going to expect that it's true, and we'll falsify backwards instead of attacking things from the cynical position of it's probably bullshit.
Yeah.
So when I see that type of stuff, I'm still kind of like, of course, mistrusting of Hamas, but at the end of the day, like I find it easier to be like, okay, let's just say there are another 70 people dead.
Look, it's horrible. The war in Gaza is horrible. Me and Josh actually were talking about this, and we both agreed that like Israel has fought a much better war when it comes to Hezbollah and Iran. It's very different. Gaza is a whole different thing because Gaza is street by street fighting against a very hardened enemy that has had like literally 10 years to make Gaza into a fortress. They also build tunnels underneath hospitals, which is literally fact check true. But I agree that there has been, I think the rules of engagement in Gaza have been too loose. I think what was happening was they were basically tolerating very high levels of civilians to take out even like one Hamas guy. And I just think that, I personally think that's wrong.
It's weird though. I mean, like, yeah, I believe it's horrifying. But sorry, the word "but" is a terrible word there. And don't you agree, Drew, that by meeting Hamas where they're at, right, by actually shooting through the hostages?
It's horrible. It's fucked.
But it establishes that, like, no, this is not a new way that you get to fight wars, right? Because if Israel was just to respect that and be like, oh, actually, you know what? Because you've hidden behind civilians, I guess you just get to do whatever you want. I guess you get to just do October 7 and then we won't bomb.
Well, look.
Can't let them get away with that strategy.
Yeah, look, it's a fucked up strategy, right? Because we actually know that Hamas's main HQ, basically in the south, where I think it was the other Sinwar, the guy that they killed really recently, they literally had tunnels underneath, like the European hospital in Gaza, I think it was, and that was all like you could literally see that. Hang on, and it's like I don't know, like. I don't know if like History Speaks has actually like responded to this before. I don't know. The other thing is I saw a message from Aiden. Aiden, I didn't know that you I didn't know you debated him. Sinwar, hang on. Mohammed Sinwar.
What's that?
Oh, this is they filmed themselves pumping concrete into one of the tunnels that they used underneath the
I saw someone referring to it as ecocide.
To pump concrete into tunnels.
Actually, they just did salt water, and they're like,
"Oh, I remember that. Yeah, when they put salt water into the tunnel and said this is ecocide." And so you just let tunnels, like you let this terrible terrorist organization literally build like 1,000 kilometers of tunnels under a city, and you just can't even touch it.
But also, we know that the Egyptians did it first.
Yeah,
the Egyptians did it like 10 years earlier.
This is true by Vietran that, like, from a cognitive perspective, our brains are wired to forget unused information over time. I mean, that's true. I mean, like, I've read all these books that, like, I've forgotten, like, the individual facts in certain books that I've read, for example. Marty here. We've got a pro-Iran guy here. People like you want chaos in Iran, spread lies, and want to divide Iran after the American liberation, then you hide. I'm not hiding. Marty, do you want to join the stream? Yeah. I'll literally send this guy the StreamYard link. You can join and debate. We don't
even have to debate. We can actually just, like,
talk. We can just even talk. Yeah. I'll literally, Marty, how do I reach you? I want to talk to you.
These are perspectives that we need to hear, right?
I'm happy to bring you on the show. I'll talk to a pro-Iran guy on the show.
No interest in telling someone from Iran that they're wrong. Like, unless they want to justify the IRGC.
Oh, so this is what History Speak said. He said History Speak literally claimed that Israel intentionally waited for Sinwar to reach the hospital so they would have an excuse to bomb. That's bullshit. That's his.
Oh, I would say that is actually anti-Semitic.
Well, that's actually fucking retarded. Like, yeah, the Egyptian forces used to pump raw sewage into tunnels found on their side. Wow, but no one says that's ecocide.
Arabs killing Arabs doesn't matter. They don't care about that.
Yeah, look, the actual estimate of the amount of Iranians killed in those protests was like 1,500 people. So at this point, I think the Iranian regime has killed more of its own people than Israel has in this current conflict, right? So it's interesting, the different moral standards, right? Oh, look, it's fucked up. Listen, this Marty guy, I want Marty to know. I'll literally send you the link to join the show, and I'll debate. We can debate. We can discuss. I'm not hiding. I want to talk. You say I'm hiding. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to a pro Iran guy. Come on the show.
I mean, it would be very fucking difficult to be living there right now. Imagine you've been living there. You've been living there
Yeah,
your
it's
whole life.
fucked up.
It's been terrible.
I have a lot of. I have a good mate who is a Persian and really against what Israel's doing right now. His name's Shagzadeh, and I actually have a lot of respect for him. And I understand he loves his own country. I feel bad. He doesn't like the regime, but he loves his own country. He doesn't want fighting. I understand that. I understand.
However, I have PTSD from hearing those sentiments, Drew, because of the amount of
It's difficult.
amount of Jews who are like, or people who are like, I have a Jewish friend who doesn't believe that Israel should be allowed to exist. Therefore, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah,
I know.
blah, blah, blah.
Isn't it funny? So you know Richard Spencer, the founder of the alt-right in America.
Yep.
The funny thing is, he's actually he's not hostile to me because he likes my stance on Ukraine, which is very funny. But he was having a go at me a bit over Israel today, and this is an interesting comment, right? Like, say you're a guy like that. You're like a European national, like you're a hard nationalist, right? Look at this guy. I wish English politicians would defend the English people like Israel politicians defend the Jewish people. Europeans should be following Israel's example when it comes to nationalism. So,
Slow down. What is?
oh, sorry.
English politicians will defend the English people like Israel. Yep.
So that's the thing. Like, this is what I don't understand, right? There's these right wingers who hate Israel, and they're like, oh, the Jews invented gay race communism, whatever. Like, they're fighting hard to defend their nation right now. Consider that against what our governments are like in the West, where they basically do nothing to protect us ever. Honestly, I think if you're like a nationalist, even if you're a right winger, you should actually respect what they're doing. Pro-Iran will want revenge. Aiden says Iran killed over 30,000 of its citizens in 1988 alone.
Can we fact check that 30,000 figure?
What are you referring to exactly, Aiden? What happens to Gaza after the war ends? You know what I honestly, personally, really want to happen? I want to see sort of Arab League force working with the PA. So like the Gulf states like Saudi, UAE, working with the PA in Gaza. That's what I think is the best option. Vance is probably made to watch Trump bang Luma. Shady Vance has to sit there and watch Trump bang Luma. 1988 executions of Iranian political prisoners, apparently 30,000 people. So that's literally far and away above the number of people hurt in this current conflict.
Well, yeah, that's more civilians than this. I mean, that's more than the civilian death toll in Gaza, right?
Mm.
I mean, I hate comparing these numbers because it's still like too many people.
I hate this scum, Jackson Hinkle. I hate him, dude. I hate him so much.
Didn't he? He's a homophobe now, isn't he?
Oh, I think he always was, to be honest.
What was the thing that he posted before about how like now they're gonna have pride?
His whole thing was he was saying that what was he saying? He was actually. I'm going to take off the headphones because I'm not even listening to anything. Right?
Now you're not yelling anymore.
Oh, that's probably why I was yelling. Right? Okay.
That's why I was like, "Do you have noise canceling?"
Oh, that's probably why I was probably yelling because I didn't hear myself. What did he say? He said, "Oh, the reason Israel wants to invade Iran is because what did he say? He said, "Oh, Israel wants to put pride parades in Tehran." And then Shagzadeh actually had a really funny post. He was like, "Iranians invented being gay. Like, we don't need that from Israel." That was actually pretty funny. Shagzadeh is a funny cunt. I really like Shagzadeh.
But you told me that the Greeks invented.
It's a contest between the Greeks and the Persians when it comes to who invented gay sex first. It's kind of like a joke where the real enemies of Islam aren't Christians or Jews, but ex-Muslims. Same thing with Iran. Persians are the most passionate people who are against the Iranian regime. That's fact check true. I feel bad for Taiwan. This is the stuff that like Shagzadeh is posting right now. Like he's posting like beautiful Persian culture and stuff and saying like, and look, it is beautiful culture. It's just like, I think you have to acknowledge like the Iranian regime, like they're not children. Like they did at the end of the day, like choose a path of confrontation with Israel. They, for 50 years, were saying we're going to destroy them. Janine, I fucking hate Janine. Janine is such a psycho bitch. Literally, please get out of Australia. Literally, please leave Australia. I so don't want her to be in Australia. She's so fucking psycho. She's called for every Israeli to be killed, and she lives in like Sydney. She's fucking psycho. And she's attacking Shagzadeh. Honestly, 100% critical support to Shagzadeh against Janine. Janine's such a psychotic bitch. Shagzadeh is a funny intellectual. Oh, yeah, Aiden sent the link, the Wikipedia 1988 executions. Actually, I'll look that up. Holy shit, yeah. Oh, King of Crinth says that he hates Sharks Adair. Why? I like Sharks Adair. He's a funny guy. Holy shit. 2 members of the Judges of Death Committee, Ibrahim Raisi. Oh my God, that's the guy who died in the helicopter crash. Remember when everyone was crying for the cunt who died in the helicopter crash?
Yeah.
And he literally sentenced 30,000 political prisoners to death. Holy shit. I hate the Western left so much.
But remember also, Drew, how quickly people were like, that was definitely Israel.
Oh, the helicopter thing.
Even me. I was if that was Israel.
Honestly, it would be based if it was Israel. If it was Israel fucking based, honestly.
But
Like,
dude,
fuck that guy.
There are people out there who, like, Israel does something like that, and people like, that's a fucking human rights violation.
Wow, the human rights violation of the guy who sentenced 30,000 political prisoners to death. Oh no, guys. Oh no. I literally don't give a fuck. About guys who have presided over insane, massive atrocities. I'm not going to be like, oh no, they're human rights. Like, I literally don't care. Do you think the residents of Gaza can ever live in peace next to Israel, particularly given what's happened over the last 2 years? I fear people of Gaza have now been radicalized for generations. That's a fucking brutal question. Basically, Trump gave Iran a deal they have to refuse. He said no uranium enrichment, while Obama wanted them to keep it at 3% or under. Oh no, dude, not the poor not the uranium enrichment. That's so unfair. Why do they fucking need it? Why do they need to enrich uranium?
Because they were going to bring affordable electricity to the poor of the Middle East. No?
Didn't you Mycenaean Greeks from Sea People to Alexander to Byzantine have primordial beef with Mesopotamians? We fought, the ancient Greeks fought the Spartans. No, the ancient Greeks fought the Persians. That is true. That is actually factually true.
Sea People.
Drew, do you have COVID? Did China send it to you? I don't think so. I just have a small cough. Just a small cough. I agree, Drew, but I'm saying Trump wanted them to refuse, so Israel bombed them based. Okay. Look, I just don't want Iran to have a nuclear bomb. It's as simple as that. Just as simple as that. I just do not want them to have a nuclear bomb. And if Israel and America have to bomb the nuclear reactors, I'm not going to cry for the fucking nuclear reactors. Seriously, as simple as that. What was the point of ripping up the JCPOA with no actual substitute? JCPOA was bullshit. It allowed Iran to get all this extra money from oil, and then they used that money to fund Hamas, Hezbollah, all their proxies across the entire Middle East. Fuck the JCPOA. It's literally a disaster. The JCPOA allowed Iran to reach the height of its power prior to October 7. So seriously, fuck the JCPOA.
Hey, do you want to have a conversation? Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah, sure. Ask me some questions.
Yeah.
People? Yeah, sure. So Josh is going to interview me a little bit.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Aiden says bomb the Chinese embassy. No, disavow. I disavow. I'm disavowing. I'm disavowing the chat.
We don't want that.
I'm disavowing the chat. I'm disavowing the chat.
Right. So I've had it thrown at me a couple times recently that the reason for Israel bombing Iran is actually because of how much oil Iran has.
Oh, so true.
America and Israel. So tell me how you think that rumor starts. How you think that?
Oh, it's just retarded. It's just retardation. These people don't understand that there's other sources there are other reasons why conflict starts beyond fucking like oil and money. Like, do you remember when this is actually a really good example of it. Like 6 months into the October 7 war, the Palestine crowd were like posting like, oh, Gaza has offshore gas deposits, and that's why they want to invade Gaza to get gas. And it's like, no, dude, it's just like an ethnic conflict.
Gaza has Jewish human deposits in tunnels.
But not even that though. It's just like it's literally just an ethnic conflict that's been going for 80 years. You think it's fucking for resources? Like another good example of this is like, have you guys seen this? This was the funniest one that I've ever seen. Someone, I think it was like when do you remember like there was like a massive breakdown of order in Haiti where like there were like the gangsters that were running the show and everything. Yeah. I remember like someone was calling for Western intervention to stop gangsters from running the show, and then like retarded communists on Twitter like made infographics where they're like, America wants to invade Haiti for their limestone. It's like, dude, America has limestone. You can get limestone anywhere. You can walk outside and fucking get
limestone. Where are we going to get limestone?
Like you can literally walk outside and get limestone. It's not everything's for fucking resources, okay? Like ideology exists. People fight for so many different reasons. Ideology, fucking religion,
defense.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an ideological cause for Hamas. Like they literally said, like, you know, Sinwar said that he just didn't believe that non-Muslims should live in the Holy Land. Like that, it's a fucking ideological religious thing for him. So to be like, oh wow, Israel's invading Gaza for limestone deposits. It's just fucking stupid. It's just like even Iraq war, right? Like America's now a net exporter.
Organ harvesting.
What about it?
I also read that the Israelis.
Oh, they say that the Israelis harvest organs, of course. That's literally blood libel. I think that's literally blood libel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
just
why is Russia allowed to have nuclear weapons? If it was up to me, they wouldn't. I fucking hate the Russians. Why isn't Drew watching the game? Is your fake Queensland? I have to admit, I should be watching the game actually. Maybe I'll put it on my other screen and watch it while we rant.
I think the reason Russia is allowed to have nuclear weapons is because they were in before, right? In before.
Oh, the Blues up by Blues already up. That's very sad. Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it on my other monitor while we
Russians are too hard to stop. And
we can't. How do you? You can't de-arm them by nuclear.
And how many? Like the threshold, Drew, for not being allowed nuclear arms is very low, and that threshold, Drew, is really simple. If you promise to keep wiping a large group of people off the map, you are someone who can't be trusted with nuclear arms. End of story, right?
Yeah.
Is Putin as evil as he is he out there every other day saying, and we're actually
okay? To be fair, he actually does do that. The Russians have been like constantly threatening to nuke like all of Europe and America the past like 2 years. So to be fair, that is actually maybe not the best example. But
but I'm talking like from 1979 all the way until today. We have like a very, very clear trajectory, a very uniting understanding of what these people want to do to Israel, right? Now, yeah, okay, is Putin being a total...
look, I actually think the comparison... I think the better thing to say is that there's actually a comparison between Russia and Iran in the sense that both of them are essentially genocidal states that are like premised on like destroying like other states as like their reason to exist.
Okay, so let's war game this out then, right?
But I understand your point that like, look, you can't at this point you can't denuclearize Russia because they've got 4,000 nukes. I'd love to denuclearize Russia. You can't do it, unfortunately. But yeah,
4,000 feels like overkill.
I think they've got 4,000.
No, but I mean, it feel like 5 would be enough.
Hang on, there's Pickles the Blank. Hello, Drew. The other day when you were interviewing that Tasmanian Senate candidate, you walked yourself into the trap of calling Tasmania a third world economy. I know you use the term ironically, but you have seemingly internalized world systems theory ironically, and it's limited your thinking. World systems theory is interesting. I find world systems theory kind of interesting. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, world systems theory. When I said Tasmania has a third world economy, I meant in the sense of like sort of resource extraction. Australia has a kind of very resource intensive economy.
They got a lot of limestone down there.
Yeah, it's all about the limestone. Exactly, it's all about the limestone
capital.
Limestone capital of the world. That China's going to invade any day now. Through my cruel tutelage, I believe you can be a legendary poster. Thank you, sir. The Russians don't believe if they nuke the world and die, they'll get 72 votes. Listen, I actually think the Russians do have like a fucking jihadist type mentality, to be fair. I think the Russians do have a jihadist type mentality where like I've seen Russian television television presenters basically say like, if we can't have Ukraine, we'll just nuke the world. Like, so
really? Can you show me?
Type in Solovyov. Yeah, Solovyov, and then that's him. And type in like just nuclear talk. Okay, and there's so much stuff like this. Like they basically every day they talk about like nuking London and shit. There's just so many nuclear threats from these guys.
Top Russian propagandist.
I came in late. Who is Josh Dabelstein? Josh is my friend. He is part of the World Yahud conspiracy, and we've been discussing Iran Israel today. I watched your debate with Joel Davis. That was so funny. Can we have that again? Have you seen that?
No.
Put it on your headphones. We should watch some of it. It'd be interesting. I debated the neo-Nazi Joel Davis, the guy who literally runs the National Socialist Network. You know the guy. You know the Nazis.
Yeah, I couldn't get through it, man. The guy pissed me off so much.
We should watch 10 minutes of it though.
Oh, is this what the people want?
Guys, what do you reckon? Should we watch some of the debate?
Fuck, I need a Mossad handler.
Yeah, they have a total obedience to the Tsar. Josh Dabelstein introduced Mossad handlers. Fact check true. Yeah, go on. Swindon. Oh, Swindon, I think, is like literally an NSN sympathizer. Pickles LeBlanc says no.
I remember Swindon.
Yeah, do you remember Swindon? He was saying like, "Do you consider yourself to be white?" and stuff like that. You know what? I
don't know what that means.
But you know what? I
feel really uncomfortable when people have the conversation about what white.
But this is actually like, I'm not even joking here though, right? because there's so few like Jewish people in Brisbane. I don't think I even like knew any Jewish people until I was older. So I never understood like, dude, I was watching Seinfeld and it was like my favorite show. I didn't even know Jerry was Jewish. I'm that retarded. And like, I think I just didn't understand. Like, I don't understand like why there's racism against Jewish people. Because like I look at it and it's like, dude, you're white. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know. It's just anti-Semitism just never really made sense to me, to be honest.
You met my girlfriend though, you know, like
is she more Levantine?
Yeah, so she's basically like, it's kind of the same as, you know, I remember when I got to uni and there was a Indigenous Australian guy living in our building. He was he had an Indigenous kind of scholarship and he was very white. And there was like this resentment from people around, well, why would he have this scholarship? He's basically white.
There are many such cases of this.
And so my kind of understanding of myself is like, well, yeah, I'm like very cut. Like I'm cut with a lot of shit. Like I'm not just a Jew. Like I'm
actually, yeah. What was your 23andMe?
Like it was like came out at like, you know, my grandma came out at like 99.9 whatever percent Ashkenazi Jew.
Really?
And
Holy shit!
She married an Irish.
You're part of the world conspiracy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, what was yours? What was yours out of interest?
But you know, because she's my grandma, she came out in January 1939. The rest of the family were gassed, but for like a couple of cousins. And so they're all completely wiped out. And she was raised to believe that she had to pretend to not be Jewish at all.
Yeah,
so they baptized her just like they've been baptizing themselves for years. She might, meanwhile, you know, her I don't know if I told you, her birth certificate, 1933, says nationality Israeli. Right? She'd never been to Israel. Her family had never been to Israel. Yeah. The point is that, she got out here and she, you know, just wanted to be as Australian as possible. So she married an Irish Australian, you know, and then her
so you're like part Irish?
Yeah, it's hard to be, third generation in Australia and not be part Irish just in some way or another.
Yeah.
And then my dad.
So what was your 23andMe result?
Look, it ended up with like a mix of like, you know, Ashkenazi Jew.
I like this the shit Mossad's pulled off, bro. No wonder why radicals thought they controlled the world in the shadow. Yeah, look, I look at Mossad and I'm like, holy fuck, these guys are kind of cool. You have to admit it. They used beepers. They fucking blew up like 3,000 Hezbollah guys' cocks in one day. Like, you have to, even if you were anti-Semitic. You know what's funny? Nick Fuentes, who like hates Jews, he like sat there and was like, I have to admit, the beeper thing was cool. Because you have to fucking admit it. Like, it was kind of fucking interesting what they were pulling off. That was actually fucking goated. You have to say.
Part Norwegian I got.
Really?
I got some Norwegian, some German, just a lot of German and Danish.
Actually, Pickles LeBlanc, I actually know what you mean as well, because there's no gypsies in Australia, but I'd hear people say it. And I just thought that I didn't know what it meant. And then I found out like when I was like a teenager, I was like, oh, it's Roma people. Drew, have you read Abundance? I've got Abundance. I'm halfway through it. I do really like the Abundance thing. I basically call myself, my domestic politics is like abundance liberalism. People are anti-Semitic because Jews have a culture of prioritizing ingenuity and education and then rise to the top, and so just resentment because they're at the top, they get blamed for it. That's what Free October say. Drew, let him finish his sentence. Sorry. Okay, I'll try to work. Almost every individual has. Listen. I do want to read this book. Somebody said "World on Fire: How Exporting Free Market Democracy Breeds Ethnic Hatred and Global." It is actually interesting because she compared. I think. Actually, I'm going to put this on the screen. She compared anti-Semitism against Jewish people to. Sort of like the type of hostility that other successful minority groups have experienced in, like, for example, Chinese mercantile traders in like Southeast Asia. So in the Philippines, Chua notes that the Chinese community comprised 1% of the population but controls 60% of the private economy, with the result being resentment on the part of the Filipino majority against the Chinese minority, creating an ethnic conflict. Similarly, in Indonesia, the Chinese Indonesian community make up 3% of the population but control 75% of the economy. Is that even a fact check true? I don't even know. Similarly, in Malaysia, the Chinese Malaysian community make up 3% of the population but control 75% of the economy. Chua gives examples of the concept that she calls ethnic market-dominant minorities, such as the overseas Chinese in Southeast Asia, European diasporas throughout Latin America and Africa, Israeli Jews in Israel and the Middle East, Russian Jewish oligarchs in post-communist Russia, Croats in former Yugoslavia, overseas Indians in East Africa. That is true. And you know, Idi Amin literally kicked all the Jews out of it.
What's that? He's avoiding answers.
Oh, they want you to say, are you white or not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
so.
Yeah. Overseas,
like, my skin color is white. I was raised as a white Australian.
Yeah, 100%. I know.
The world has made me a Jew, right? My parents were never like, it's really important that you're Jewish.
Explain that a bit. Explain that to the people in chat. So, like, you thought of yourself as a white Australian, but then you kept on encountering anti-Semitism, so then you thought of yourself more as Jewish then.
No, the world just, like, I was constantly reminded, right? So like my parents were just raised in like we're in Ashfield. We ended up in Bondi Junction for like the latter third of my growing up. But so there's a lot more Jews around there.
I reckon you look Caribbean, Afro-Turkish. That's my view.
But yeah.
Somebody said India is richer than Australia. Do you mean in like absolute GDP? We're certainly not on a per capita
Do you
basis.
want me to answer the question?
Yeah. Sorry. I keep on cutting you out. Sorry.
Don't look at the screen. Don't ignore
Okay,
them.
okay.
Don't feed the birds.
Okay.
Right? They're going to be
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
They've learned to fly. Watch them.
Okay.
Oh, there he goes. He's back.
Who?
You.
No, I'm listening to you. I was just getting the screen up. Yeah. Sorry, you go.
What was the question?
Oh, so you said you were raised as like a white Australian, but then you feel like the world made you Jewish in the sense that you kept on encountering anti-Semitism and stuff.
Yeah, well, no one ever, not even anti-Semitism. It was just like, I got to school and they're like, oh, your name's Joshua David Dabelstein. You're a Jew. And I was like, I guess. But like, I didn't think about it any differently, like someone being like, oh, and I'm a football player, Like I never.
Yeah, no, I get you.
And then, then I started noticing stuff like when I was at high school and someone was like, yeah, you're in the tuck shop line and someone's like, can I borrow $1? And, you're like, fuck, all right. I actually like, I'm like not one of the rich people at this school. I'm like 13. So like $1's a serious,
Yeah.
It's a gold coin, but a gold coin.
Yeah.
But it's not doing any favors to the stereotype. But you're sitting there being like, all right, so if I give the guy the gold coin, if I give the guy the fucking dollar coin, like, then he's going to be like, classic, like that's a rich Jew, sure, he's got dollar coins. If I say no, I can't, then they call you a stingy Jew.
Oh, right? Yeah, I get you.
So no matter what happens, you learn to be in a state of like, how do I mitigate their experience of my Jewishness through my actions? So that's why so many young Jews end up, like myself, anti-Zionist. Because everyone's lumping you in with everything they hate about Israel.
And then you say, oh, I'm anti-Israel.
So you're like, yeah, I'm not like that. I'm not like one of those rich Jews. I'm not like one of those stingy Jews. I'm not like one of those Jews from over there. So every part of the young leftist Jewish identity is about avoiding that anti-Semitism. Some of us are self-reflective enough to realize that's what's going on after a while. Some of us are not, and they get worse and they start things like the Jewish Council of Australia.
Wait, what do you mean the Jewish? Oh, you mean the Kahanists?
No, the Jewish Council of Australia.
Oh, right, sorry. I got them. Yeah, I got them confused. No, so Jewish Council of Australia is like the full communist, like lefty one where they're like
just insane.
Where like they literally just say like, please kill us. Yeah. Like it's fucked up. It actually is fucked up, honestly.
They really are horrifying.
I had a shit post. I don't know if you remember my shit post, but I said that I was making fun of the Jewish Council of Australia because like no one elected them, but they like claimed to represent every single Jewish person in hating Israel.
They actually, but point of order.
Yeah.
They actually don't.
I know they don't represent.
No, but they try to make it really. I interviewed Sarah Schwartz a couple times.
Oh, you did actually? Okay.
Yeah, I spent far too many hours writing down what she said. But basically, she made it very clear, and their media releases make it really clear. They do not. They over and over again say we are not trying to represent Australian Jewish people.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just their name is that.
Well, if you say Jewish Council, it sounds legit, right?
And I feel like it's kind of, and their attitude is like, it's not our fault that you find it misleading.
Well, look, I was doing a piss take and
a council that happens to be Jewish.
I did a piss take and some of my Jewish friends were laughing because I just did the equivalent of Sarah Schwartz and I just said, okay, I'm starting the Greek Council of Australia. I now speak for all Greeks in the world, and we love Turkey. Like that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of what they've done. Like it's like she's created a council, said it represents Jewish people. And then they like Hamas. It's like, that's the equivalent of me like creating the Greek Council of Australia. And I want the press to interview me every single time a Greek story is mentioned.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, our secret position as Greeks is that we love Turkey. And we want Hagia Sophia to be like a Turkish mosque forever.
Yeah,
that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent.
Yeah, 100%. So, Josh, if you had to donate $1,000 to either a random white European or a random Jewish Australia.
That's one of the anti-Semitic talking points where they say that like Jewish charities mainly go towards Jewish kids and stuff like that, and Jewish people.
No one else is giving it to Jewish kids.
I get you, yeah. I get you.
It's a community enterprise, right? But what if just you?
Well, look. The thing is, like,
I don't understand. Is the question? Are they trying to say that I would give it to Jewish? No. We need to have a longer conversation, or you need to meet some more Jews.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I know, like, I've got like 10 Jewish friends, and like probably like every one of them almost hates each other, and they've got different factions, different politics. Like it. They say this about Greeks as well. They're like, if you put 3 Greeks in a room, there's 4 opinions, and it's kind of the same with like Jewish people. And I like that. It's probably honestly, there's probably like similarities between like Greeks and Jews in the sense that it's like both kind of diaspora peoples. Like we weren't really persecuted as much, I think, but it's kind of like Levantine type culture, Mediterranean type culture. I think there's a little bit of similarities, some of the family values and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of cultures think that they have these particular attributes that are unique to them that are just not. Like the number of people who are like, "Oh, we're Italians, so we love food," and then you go to a Jewish person's place, and they're like, Jews, so we're always eating food, and then you see, Drew's mum delivering him lamb and halloumi in the background of a
that is a very Greek
and it's
thing.
like, it's a classic. But it's the point I'm making is that everyone fucking eats food.
Have you seen the meme where like it's actually a right-wing meme? They were mocking sort of like multicultural discourse, but like the meme that's like, my culture is so different. We like food and family, and then people are like, well, that's every single culture in the world. Like, have you heard that one? I probably like butchered it in the delivery, but like,
try again.
Like, you know how people will often be like, oh, like our culture is so different to like, WASP white American type culture. Like we like food and family. And it's like, but like that's every single person on the fucking planet. Like it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I do know jujitsu. Yeah.
Greeks and Jews also have unspoken resentment towards Islam owing to historical regret. I've got no resentments in me. I've got no resentments, whatever.
You should have heard him in the car.
No, not at all. He's taking the piss.
Would not stop.
No, he's taking the piss.
On and on.
Taking back content to no, that's not me. Drew, can you ask Josh what my mum wants me to buy from the store? Okay, dude. What
is that?
Dodo.
Can you ask my mum is she Jewish? Dodo?
You know what's interesting, King of Corinth? I know some Nigerian Christian guys, and they're so hostile to Islam because of like Boko Haram and like the Islamic terrorist attacks in Nigeria. And like, I like these guys will be like, if you ask them their politics, like they're very progressive on all these different issues, but you ask them about like Islam and like they're very, very, very hostile because of like the way that Islamic terrorism has like torn Nigeria apart.
I think that people should be allowed to express their resentment when it comes.
I like wasps. I want to say straight up, I like wasps. I'm not wasp myself, like, in the sense that like I have hot Mediterranean blood, I throw plates and shit, but I like the wasps. Very nice, peaceful culture. But you need different types. Not everybody can be a wasp. You also need some passionate people too. You're not mad about Hagia Sophia anymore. Like I don't wake up every morning talking about it, but
somebody's Twitter comments. Isn't Josh's team listening to everyone? They won't even listen to me.
Yeah, I know. I wish for it.
Do you know how hard it is? The number of like Jews who come up to me and stuff like, "Oh my God, we love your work. We love what you do. Oh, we read that thing. I shared it with my blah blah blah." They like and whatever, and then like they don't even follow you on like Instagram. They don't subscribe to your Substack. When they do reach out on WhatsApp, because Jews are always on fucking WhatsApp. It's always like, "Hey, I saw your Substack. I know it says this is gonna, really play up to a lot of the anti-Semitism in the chat." But the number of people who have been like, "Oh, like $5 a month. Like, is there a way like you could make it like $2 for me?" And it's just so like, bad. Cunt, you own a house. You own your own home, and I'm 34, and I'm so far from paying my own fucking HEX debt, and I don't know what I'm going to do about my car.
Dude. To be fair, I get that with the Greeks too. Like, please.
I'm not saying it's a Jewish thing.
The Greeks need to subscribe to my Substack more as well.
Yeah, no, but it's just someone asked, "Aren't they listening?" And I'm like, they are not even. I don't have a fucking tribe that's going to support me.
We've got a guy from Congo here. I don't blame them. Jihadists are trying to coup my government back in Congo to install it.
Come on.
Yeah, you can come on the stream. We can talk. If a Turkish guy rubs Hagia Sophia in, that stings are correct. And Josh, do you flex the 6-day war?
Yes.
Honestly, it doesn't sting though, because I'm not like a chud about like Greek stuff. Like, I there's that guy in the chat, Peter, who like I think like literally would be thinking about it every day. Like, obviously, I think it's sad, but I'm not. I don't like those. I don't like the Greek like ultra race resentment types who are like never talk to a Turk. Never. Like I never got into that. I don't like that stuff.
I haven't heard much of it in the real world. You see that stuff online, but
Josh, do you want whites to remain a majority in Australia? I think Drew does. Oh, gee, that's going to get the whole stream taken down.
I honestly don't really know. I don't know.
Listen, I just think like we should have diversity, but we shouldn't just completely change every country on earth. I think there's a moderate position.
Can I just?
Yeah. Sure.
So like,
Yeah.
Drew and I had this conversation earlier. We were in a.
We're talking multiculturalism.
We're in a Korean restaurant. Drew's talking loudly in front of all these Asian, people. Definitely first, if not second, maybe third, but probably not generation. And Drew's just like waxing lyrical about the problems with multiculturalism. Well,
No. You're characterizing it wrong. That's
I really am. I'm joking.
I was quiet.
But the point I was going to make is that we're talking about multiculturalism and this kind of problem where it's like it's not that cultures being together is an issue or different ethnic groups being an issue. That's not the issue at all.
Look at this shit comment.
The only issues that only issues that seem to arise, Drew, are actually when it comes to disparate value systems. And I don't actually think that value systems are at all innately tied to ethnic groups or cultural groups.
Look, I'm.
So I don't give a fuck what their skin color is, as long as they're not cunts.
Listen, I'm not obsessed with skin color. I'm not like I don't believe in like everybody's got to be like an Aryan Übermensch via 100% genetic. Like I'm not into that. My biggest problem is that unfortunately, what's someone saying? Drew, did you guess where they're from based on that? No, I didn't do ethnic guess on that.
He was measuring their skulls with a little.
No, I wasn't doing that.
He's got a little ruler in his pocket, and he used it to measure different people's skulls, and then he estimates their IQ.
Listen. Like, I want to explain my position, right? Because people were saying, "Oh, you're a great replacement theorist." I'm not a great replacement theorist. What happened was there was an article in the Telegraph the other day, and the article in the Telegraph was basically saying that on current migration trajectory, England will be minority English in like 20 years. I just said, listen, like I still like a certain amount of diversity and stuff like that. But I think it's sad if English people become a minority in England. And I just think that like I value cultural diversity, but if you make every single country the same, no, I'm not racist. I'm not racist at all. But if you make every country the same, there won't be diversity. That's the sad thing. Like, and I said this right. I want Tibet to be Tibetan. I want my kids to go to Korea, and I want it to be Korean. I want my kids to go to England, and I want it to be English. That doesn't mean that people can't live there from a different ethnicity and they can't culturally assimilate and stuff like that. I'm just saying that like there's a certain level of migration where I think it just creates social conflict, and I think we need to slow down migration to avoid social conflict in society. I think Singapore has a much better model on this sort of stuff.
Is it weird that I don't care?
But the problem is, listen, Josh, I think this is the problem though, right? Like, look, the reality is if say 50% of Australia was Lebanese Shia Muslim, there'd be like a million person.
That's not but you've attached Shia Muslim to it.
But
if the issue is Lebanese, I don't give a fuck.
Listen, I've got nothing against
Shia Muslim. There are plenty of lovely Shia Muslims.
No, I agree. There's plenty of lovely Lebanese Shia Muslims. All I'm saying though is if Australia overwhelmingly was changed tomorrow, there would be Hezbollah rallies everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
And that's bad. Like, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, of course.
I think you need to have a slow level of migration so that people can assimilate into the broader culture, right? Because if you have a rate that is so high that there's no level of integration and assimilation, then the problem is that you then get like race war, you get street rioting, you get ethnic conflict. That's what's playing out in England right now. It's a disaster. Like, England is legitimately really riven by racial conflict right now, and that's a disaster. I don't want Australia to get like that bad.
Like, I get you, but I think I'm talking in centuries, not in decades. Right, Drew?
Yeah, true. Okay.
So if the question is, because the amount of time we're talking about is really important, okay? So if the question in the comments, I can't remember who was it, someone asked, about would I care if it was like not a majority white country? What it would take for this country to be not a majority white country in the next 20 or 30 years, I think would be highly problematic, right? I think there'd be a lot of like serious like cultural rifts, and
there'd be cultural rifts, there'd be massive sectarian conflict.
Yeah,
like,
so my issue is like I don't give a fuck about what people's DNA says.
Yeah, like I'm not obsessed with DNA, of course.
But what I'm more talking about is for lack of a better term, not even cultural cohesion, values-based cohesion.
I think it's basically
And so-
social cohesion, right?
So overall, over a period of time, if people are, if you enter Australia and you're Shia Muslim and you've been living in a very radical part of the world, and your kids, eventually, I don't know. I don't really think it's like a really big deal.
Look, here's a pretty rough question. Like, what do you say to Adam here on this one?
So in 200 years, so my argument for the importance of an Israeli state is a lot of it has to do with security.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in chosenness, although I could talk for a long time about what chosenness means, and it does not mean what people suggest.
Oh, you mean like the Nick Fuentes types believe
it's
that?
It's just
like,
not how
yeah,
it works.
The
chosen means there's 613 mitzvot that Jews are supposed to adhere to, whereas non-Jews only have to adhere to 10. Chosen to perform an extra bunch of things for God. It's a chosen burden.
It's just a religious belief. It doesn't.
Anyway, the point is that I don't give a fuck. I don't believe in any religious basis for the existence of Israel whatsoever. But I do think that like human race's track record is that they seem to like to try to kill Jews, and the best possible security measure for those who are routinely being hunted down for pogroms or extermination or whatever, is to entitle them to some type of state apparatus and protection. Now, it turns out that inside other people's states, they don't get protected. And
but
so as a result...
To be honest, though, that's actually why I think like in England should exist and Poland should exist. Like, I at the end of the day, I actually do believe that nation states are a pretty sound basis as a building block for, just international politics. It does seem to be that one of the biggest problems in history is people who don't have states get persecuted.
Sure. But the point I'm making is that if there were ever a case for a group of people to be entitled to...
And I do think Rishi Sunak is English. He's obviously not ethnically English, but he's fully culturally English. And I think he's perfectly assimilated. Like that, that's my answer. I've said this before. Like they're like English chavs who like, you know that guy who was converted to Islam and he was singing Dino Vidanya and he's like English, but he's like got like a full kafir on and stuff like that. Like, Rishi Sunak is like more culturally English than that. So
yeah, and sorry, I'm just going to respond to this.
Which one?
It was that this guy's so just.
Oh wait, Swindon. Hang on, which one? Which one?
State for me, but not for you.
No.
Okay. So no, he's misunderstood though, and I can help him out.
This guy, you should.
Can I help him out?
Yeah, help him out because look, he actually is. This guy, I'm pretty sure, is an NSN sympathizer. But listen,
yeah, I know.
But listen, let's try and break down the anti-Semitic stereotypes. Let's have an interesting chat. De-radicalization.
I don't really like. It's a conspiracy theory, and that's beyond. I can't do much about that.
Look,
people, but
their
I
idea.
Can definitely deal with what he's saying here. I can speak to it, and what he's saying is.
Yeah.
I didn't get to finish my sentence, but what I was saying was that I can completely understand from a security perspective why it's really important for Israel to exist. I think we would all be lying to ourselves if we were to say that like the white Australian has been so persecuted for the last 2,000 years that they need the same. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. Just let me finish. Yeah. Let me finish. What I'm doing is I'm ranking the importance based on threats to safety in terms of why I've spent a lot of time thinking about Jews having their own state and why I haven't really had to spend as much time thinking about whether or not white Australians have been threatened to the extent that they do deserve their own state. Now, that's not saying that they don't. It's merely saying that I'm able to make a very good case for the Jewish example, and it's a case that I cannot make for the white Australian example because the entire case is contingent on threats to safety. Does that make sense? So the idea that I believe that the Jews should be allowed to have a state and non-Jews shouldn't is not true. What I'm saying is that those who are at the most risk from not having their own state should be prioritized to be able to keep it.
Listen,
does that make sense?
I get what you're saying. Listen, my perspective, right, is I generally believe in a world of nation states where all people should have their own state. I believe in a Palestinian state. I believe in a Kurdistan state. I believe in a Tibet, right? As part of that, I still think that I want England to be England. I want Poland to be Poland. I want Denmark to be Denmark. That doesn't mean that there can't be any migration at all. There can't be any cultural diversity. I like cultural diversity. I like cultural interchange. I just think that like migration shouldn't happen at a level where it results in massive levels of social dislocation and alienation and like literal sectarian street conflict and stuff. And I think like England's at that point where it actually is taking place like that now, and I think it's really bad. And I just think like, you know, when you look at stuff like the grooming gangs and stuff like that in England, it's been a massive social experiment that has not worked whatsoever. Like they took people from a really poor part of Pakistan, they took them to a really poor part of England. That part of England was just already suffering from massive social fragmentation and alienation and breakdown, and like people took advantage of that, and a lot of innocent people were harmed. So my thinking is just that, like, I like cultural diversity. I'm not a full ethno-state Chadist at all. Like, I don't believe in like everybody must be like assessed by like, you know, DNA or whatever. I just think that in general, I think migration should be at a pace that nations can actually absorb rather than result in massive changes that lead to, you know, dislocation and conflict in the streets and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I think it's, you know, I'm not trying to equivocate, right? And I'm not trying to like weasel out of
and Easy. I want to respond to Easy Money, right? Paul Scalise, Lindy Man, actually has a really good take on this. He does say that there's a little bit of a difference between, say, the old world and the new world, in the sense that he draws a distinction between thick culture and thin cultures. And he talks about, like, for example, if you look at mainland Greece, or you look at like, say, Poland or something like that, like these are thick cultures. These are countries that have like 1,000 years of history, as it's mainly been a sort of like ethnic identity and stuff like that. And he contrasts that to like sort of new world states, like, for example, Australia or America, which obviously have much more of a history of immigration and stuff like that. So it's obviously harder to talk about an ethnic American or an ethnic Australian. And I understand that point as well. I think there is a distinction between thick cultures and thin cultures. That doesn't mean that I think that Australia should have like mass levels of social dislocation or anything at all. I still think migration should be slowed and everything. I think there is a distinction between, like, you know, like a nation like Tibet, which is like been like Tibet for 1,000 years, or like Poland, which has been Poland for 1,000 years, and then that's a little bit of a difference to, like, say, America, which obviously America has much more history.
You know what? Can I engage with this?
Yeah, go. Which one?
Adam.
Okay, yeah. And look, I actually think that I don't want people to become minorities in their own country. I think in general, when people become minorities, it generally does lead to, you know, violence and bad things happening to that people. And we see that with the history of the Jews, like where they were minorities, they were persecuted. Being a minority is often related. It often relates to persecution and stuff like that. So that's why I think like we need to be very, very sensible about how we deal with migration and stuff like that, because when you get to the level where people become minority and stuff like that, it can result in massive levels of social conflict. Then I just don't want to see that level of social conflict, you know?
I think, yeah, look, I
actually do agree. I do actually agree with this Dave guy where he goes like,
no, I agree. I agree. So I 100% agree. Sorry, 100% is silly. I like 85% agree with Adam. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And the things that I pull up are semantic, and they are. Okay. So, firstly, I think that every nation should be allowed to set the terms for itself, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Why the fuck not, right?
Yeah,
and this idea that by setting the terms for itself is somehow racist, whatever. Like, I don't know if that's. I don't really understand how that works. The thing I'm not really too on board with is every conflict is across ethnic or religious lines.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. There's obviously there's also class conflict. There's different types of class.
But I do think that but yeah, like I think that I do think that there's definitely a value to people being able to say, hey, like, this is our nation and we would like to keep it. We'd like to keep parts of it that we like. But, you know, I have a lot of conditioning. Like, I'm going to level with everyone here, right? Like, this is difficult because I feel like highly conditioned by having born in 1991 and having, you know, grown up where I've grown up, highly conditioned to experience any suggestion that there shouldn't be like an absolutist driving at the embracing of mass immigration and multiculturalism and as many people of as many different types as possible, and to even suggest that one particular group of people should be allowed to say, hey, can't we like stay the majority because that's how we like this country? Any suggestion of that in my like left-wing conditioning is
Well, that's
really difficult.
I get what you mean,
grapple.
and
so like
yeah.
you've got to be patient with me, everybody. Like if you're gonna like get in the comments and like call me like an evil. I mean, I'm getting all of it. Like
yeah, I know.
First,
Look, they've done this to me for like 2 years. Like
no, I'm not upset, but I'm leveling with them to let them know like I'm not hard and fast in anything I believe. It's constantly up for review, but it is really difficult for me to both on the one hand be like, you know what, I do think that like to be an Australian is an identity that should be preserved, and then I'm also not necessarily convinced that that has to have anything to do with the color of one's skin.
I agree. I don't think it should be like a full. I don't think it should be a full race.
But I've got a lot of people who tell me I'm not white, and I've got a lot of people telling me that I am white, and I think
I get the same thing. It's kind of a strange
I'm
scenario.
white, and I honestly think that white doesn't mean anything anymore. It's more of a pejorative term being wielded by one of two different people, and you know what both of those people are? They're either people who love hating whites, or they're whites who love hating others.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Listen, I genuinely don't like race war shit. My problem, right, is like there's a lot more. I think the scary thing is that there's a lot of racial conflict on the horizon because
Tran is fucking awesome.
He's a smart guy. He's a smart guy.
Who is he?
He's actually Vietnamese and he's a moderator. He literally lives in Vietnam.
He's a moderator.
Yeah,
'Cause he's all
moderator. Yeah, but like by the same metric, like I think like Vietnam should be Vietnamese. Like I think But I get I certainly get your point, right? Like, I think whenever it's a very complex thing because, like, if you start talking about this stuff, someone goes, "You two are white as fuck."
Yeah, that's why I was
but they both.
showing my
The
skin.
funny thing is, they both like the Nazis both say that we're not white, but I get what you mean though in that like what
He's just fucking
Greece should be Turkish. Yeah, so true. Look, again, I think a level of cultural diversity is good, cultural interchange and stuff like that.
You know what? Fucking.
Can
you screenshot that?
That's a good one, actually. I get what you mean though, because like, listen, I think like the really dominant ideology in Australia for the past like 20, 30 years has been sort of like multiculturalism and stuff like that. So I grew up like, and look, I'm very comfortable, like, you know, being friends with people from all different walks of life and everything. It's just that like since October 7, when I've seen people like try to say that like Hamas death marches and stuff like that are like justified because like they're just as Australian as everybody else. Like that's where I've just been like it can't just be full cultural relativism, right? Like I think Australia has a good culture. I don't want the culture of Australia to be replaced by like literal people who support like death marches of certain races and stuff like that. Like, so that's it. I like diversity. I like a level of cultural interchange. I just think that like it should be managed in a slower way, and it should be managed in a way that people don't. There's not massive social dislocation, and people aren't necessarily facing the prospect of potentially being put into like unsafe positions and stuff like that. Because I don't know, like you look at for example like what happened with the grooming gang situation in Britain, and like unfortunately like a lot of like innocent people were hurt by that, and like I think just as a basic requirement of the state, like you can't do that. You can't like create a situation where people are going to be hurt for no reason when it wouldn't happen in the first place, you know?
It's difficult though. Like are most countries that are not England are more likely to produce grooming gangs? Like for example, the blanket kind of changing of the way in which we think around multiculturalism as a result to a worst case scenario. Like this is not a defense of the grooming gangs, and to be frank, I could not be more appalled by the way in which it was handled. I think it was the handling of it was severely compromised by an anti-racist progressive approach, which is ironically incredibly unprogressive and incredibly racist, right? But is this small cohort of people from Pakistan reasonable representation of multiculturalism at work?
Oh, look, it doesn't represent all Pakistani people, of course. It's just that like events like that are just obviously going to strike such a deep like chord of like anger, because the reality is like the grooming gangs wouldn't have happened if the specific men who did them weren't living in Britain, and they wouldn't have been living in Britain if it was not for the policy of the state for a number of decades. So like again, I don't think anybody should be. I don't think anybody should ever be singled out based on race. I think obviously there's like lots of normal, great Pakistani people. It's just that like that particular example, and it's probably because Britain, like Noah Smith had a pretty good point the other day where he basically said that like if you look at the comparison between like the Pakistani population of America and like the Pakistani population of Britain, like America seems to have taken in like the most educated people from Pakistan, and they integrate pretty well, and it's probably a little bit different when it comes to Britain because they seem to have been taking in people who are a lot poorer, maybe a lot less educated. And it led to like the creation of sort of sectarian enclaves. And then that resulted in, unfortunately, like race-based violence.
This is a great point. And
What
I
one?
think you just kind of spoke to it actually. King of Corinth. Did Drew just like kind of get to that? I think.
I did say that. Like, of course. Well, I raised the point that like, I don't know, like for example, like Pakistani migrants to America have been overwhelmingly much better educated and therefore have assimilated much better than say Pakistani migrants to Britain.
This is what I was getting at, Drew.
It's true. I mean, of course, Connor, that is true that there was institutional child abuse in Australia. Absolutely. Of course, we all know that like this isn't just a problem that only is linked to Pakistani grooming gangs. Of course, there's institutional grooming of children, like unfortunately all across society. It's just that like I think it obviously strikes a chord though, where like if it's an example of the abuse of children that would not have happened had somebody not moved to the country like 20 years ago. Like that is obvious. I think that's like, that is going to strike a level of anger for people because like, it's very hard. Like we haven't, unfortunately, no society, like this is the problem, right? No society in history has managed to work out how to stop like all pedophiles everywhere, right? That's of course, nobody's worked out how to stop that yet. But
all gang rapes.
Yeah, all gang rapes, of course. Yeah, like this stuff still happens. But it's like, it's another thing entirely where like, if it's an example of a crime that would not be taking place, were that person not to have migrated in the first place.
Well, you know what might be interesting though, Drew, is a number of people in places like Pakistan who are like, can we not allow these like young Westerners to emigrate? They're bringing their like transism.
I've seen people say that shit. Like
we don't want their cultural issues will corrupt our values.
But you know what? You know what's funny? Like, have you seen? There's like a lot of backlash in Mexico City against like American expats who are living there and like doing remote work and stuff like that. And so like there are like posters. People put up posters in Mexico City going like "Yanks out" and stuff like that. It's just funny though because it's like, it's never. It's okay when it's weaponized like that way against like say Americans, but like obviously not against anybody else.
So do you want to like?
Yeah, I think Lee is right where he goes. The issue is that it happened because of the way it was. That's true. Like if all these layers of British society hadn't been worried about it being perceived to be racist, they could have stopped it in like the 80s. I think that's the main disaster there. That it went on for so long, and it would not have actually happened if they had just gotten a handle and just said, "Listen, we're not going to care about being called racist. There's particularly these guys doing this. We're going to stop it." Like, I think the fact that it went on for so long, particularly because people were like trying to be politically correct, I think that's obviously the worst part.
Yeah.
Swindon, I don't know. Swindon's being fucking really racist in the chat. I like the Vietnamese people. I like Vietnam.
Awesome.
Vietnamese are awesome, man. I fucking love banh mi's.
I spent about a month in Vietnam.
I love Vietnamese people.
And it was incredible.
My point is, child abuse is scourged worldwide. The problem with the grooming gangs is that it's unnecessarily used to paint all. Look,
I saw child abuse in Vietnam.
Look, I want to say to Con.
By the way.
Of course, I don't think that it's only immigrants. Of course, what I said before is what I'm trying to talk about, right? It's the fact that they could have stopped that particular issue decades ago if they hadn't been worried that they would be perceived to be racist. Because that's what the report found. The report that came out just the other day found that the failing came directly because like multiple institutions of British society over many decades like shut it down for fear of being perceived to be racist. And look, Adam is also correct here. They're one of the ringleaders of the Rochdale grooming gang actually said in court that he particularly was targeting white girls because of their race, because he said that the white girls were raised as sluts. So God, I remember that. So that in itself is like a massive example, right? Of like if the ringleader is literally saying, yeah, I did it for racist reasons against white British people, that is like that's like a nuclear level disaster for multiculturalism.
Actually, ironically, like a really interesting microcosmic example of the dynamic between Israel and Iran, right? Like it's this.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Also, we can't do anything despite the fact that their plan is to do that thing, right? So we can't appear to be as bad as them. We're not allowed to be. So they're scared of being racist.
Yeah.
So
No,
they
I
have
get
to
you.
let
Yeah.
the guy be racist.
Yeah.
You're scared of looking like an aggressor, so you have to let the guy be aggressive.
Well, I think it all comes back to like cultural relativism, basically. Like,
Yeah.
and like the West, I don't know, but like I feel like the West has like really lost its way, where like we don't even say that we've got like our own culture that is a good culture that we should promote. And I think that's why like Iran's allowed to just like fucking attack everybody for 50 years, and no one's allowed to attack back, because that would be mean, right? Like it's fucking frustrating. That Lebanon Sydney said what? Oh, he's talking about Bilal. So you know what's a fucking disaster, right? The Bilal Scaff rape gang case in Sydney that was carried out by like a group of young Lebanese men. Bilal Scaff said in court. No, I think he was quoted during some of the attacks making racist comments directly against white Australians. So obviously that like where you've got actually race-based violence being perpetrated against, say, like the majority population by a minority group, like that is itself a very politically explosive situation. It just cannot ever be allowed to happen. I'm not fully up to date with the chat because there's so many different comments here. Someone's talking about trans kids or something like that.
This comment has failed to post. I can't seem to post my.
Why?
I don't know. It never fucking works.
Oh, it's because links. YouTube banned links for some reason in the chat. But if you just post under your own name, people can go to your account and click on you though.
If I what?
So if you post a link to your thing, it won't work. But if you just post under your own name, if you just say like, "Hey guys, it's Josh," people can go to your channel just by clicking on it. But for some reason, YouTube doesn't allow links. One second, I'm gonna blow my nose. Now you see what I've been dealing with, Josh. These like Nazi guys have been like bullying me for like years, and like eventually, I just said, "Listen, I don't want full infinity migration. You need to stop attacking me." I don't know. Scaff was he was Muslim Lebanese. Obviously a disaster. This is true. This is another good comment. By not taking these things seriously, different minorities suffer. They escape their persecution in the Middle East only to find it again in enclaves in England. Yeah, it's actually really sad. And like, I've read that there was like an Iranian person who couldn't seek like refuge in Britain because they would face like Islamists trying to kill them. Like that's fucking terrifying, right? Like you can't even accept like an Iranian Christian refugee or whatever because like Iranian Islamists will kill them. Yeah, this is a good point by Con. Domestic violence in immigrant communities hasn't been looked at properly in the national discourse on violence against women. Do some immigrant social centers see women as second class? Yeah, that's a good point. And I think this is why people got so pissed off about that adolescent series, because they were talking about violence against women, but they portrayed it like they found like some 10-year-old like white Anglo kid who doesn't look threatening at all to anybody. Just like literally like a young Anglo kid. And they're like, this is the guy that's getting machetes out and like stabbing people. Like it was just obviously a bit much, right? Nose blow visceral as usual. Sorry, guys.
Wow, so good at stuff. How does it know?
I don't know what the problem is. Have you tried going onto YouTube and commenting it directly? Because you're on StreamYard right now. Yeah, good example of Hamza Hadi. And I think both me and Josh actually signed the letter against his deportation from Germany. So Hadi Hamza is being deported to Greece and he's afraid for his life because of the Islamists trying to kill him in Germany. Drew, did you have cocaine? Is that why you're sniffing? No, I just got a bit of a cold, unfortunately. I actually agree with Dodo. I think if we had mandatory patriotism classes, we could actually solve a lot of these issues. Because listen, I've said this over and over again. I don't believe that this is like, I don't believe like if you've got a different skin color, you're just like innately, like you just can't ever be a patriotic Australia. I think that's stupid. I think people from different backgrounds can be patriotic Australians and assimilate to Australia. I think we need to have mandatory patriotism classes at school. Yeah, you got your subtitle up. Call from all the nose beers. Make sure you're up to date with your COVID vax. Yep, we're on the 15th booster, my friends.
What?
Nah, I'm just joking. You know how there's some people. Do you know that lady? What's her name? Taylor Lorenz, and she's like a massive supporter of Hamas, but she's still going around like with a face mask, telling people like they're genocidal if they don't wear a face mask. And like the bitch literally supports Hamas. She literally supports like Islamic terrorism, but she's going around like, oh, if you don't wear a face mask, you got to kill someone. Like,
oh, dude, we have to.
Actually,
we need to have a conversation.
I'm gonna blow my nose again. Yeah, sorry, keep talking me.
Well, let's have a conversation where we actually look at each other.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like
should we ignore the chat and you can just interview me those questions you want?
Yeah. But first, you guys need to follow me on Instagram.
I think this is a good point. Like they were 4% of the population and they made up 60% of the suspects. Like you can't just say like this is not a problem specific to that community. There's obviously what's happening there is there's like massive amounts of like sexism, disrespect towards women in that community. There's very barbaric attitudes towards women and young girls. Like that's just not acceptable in a Western society at all. If we had patriotism classes, then we need to also have classes on the atrocities committed by Indigenous. Do you mean by Indigenous people or against Indigenous people? Because we've already got so many classes in Australia about like the brutality Indigenous Australians suffered. I think we've already got a lot of classes on that. We don't have any patriotism classes at all.
Patriotism, though, is that the right class?
Maybe not patriotism, but like maybe civics, right? Like
civics
just like
is a great...
like explain to people like why we believe in democracy, why we believe in individual freedoms. That if you migrate to Australia, you have to respect the rights of women. You can't.
Yeah, but can you imagine you're sitting there reading, the paperwork that you got to fill out before you migrate, and it's like, do you promise to respect?
Well, there is actually stuff like that. The problem is there is stuff like that right now, and people just obviously ignore it. That's the problem. Con, I don't know what you're talking about, Con, because like I did so many classes on atrocities against Indigenous people in Australia, and I think it's actually gotten to the point where we now don't have a single history class where it's like actually Australia is a good country. I don't know. Maybe that's a conservative opinion, but like if we only teach people about the bad parts about Australia and Australian history, then people will just hate the country. Simple as. Vietran, Vietran's trolling right now. You're not even in Australia. You're living in Vietnam, man. Vietran is trolling Swindon. He said we must secure the existence of our people and a future for immigrants. But he actually he's not even a migrant to Australia. He lives in Vietnam. This is a good point by King of Corinth. I think King of Corinth is from Nigeria, from memory or something like that. I'm from the third world. If a third world does not believe women have rights, a civics class can never change that.
Yeah, but it will.
That's a big problem, right? It's a big problem.
But it's what about their kids?
Actually, I want to ask King of Corinth because this guy is like from third world, but he's like he likes the West. What do you think can be done, King of Corinth? What do you think can be done? King of Corinth is literally from Nigeria, and he said the best bet is to keep them out. That's brutal. Fuck. Drew, what's with your recent shilling for Israel? You think it's recent? I've been shilling for a long time. I'm joking. I disavow.
Shilling for the truth.
They're dragging America into Iraq war. I actually just don't believe that at all. I don't believe that's true at all. They're not dragging America into the Iraq war 2.0. It's such a different thing.
Preventing World War
Dude, all they're doing is they're taking out the nuclear reactors. Why can't you take out the nuclear reactors? Why do they need to have nuclear reactors to use so that they can get an atomic bomb?
Because you can't take out the nuclear reactors without the Iranians then sending hundreds of ballistic missiles onto civilian areas in Tel Aviv.
Again, I'm going to get cancelled, but I think Adam has some level of a point where he said like Westerners are being taught all the time to be like really ashamed of their past.
Yeah, that's true.
And listen, that the problem is then crazy people come in and then like, oh well, your past is evil, so I'm just gonna fucking do whatever I like.
I've written extensively about that on my Substack.
Yeah.
I believe that the reason that so many people have become total shills for Hamas is because they're absolutely ashamed of
Australia. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They've been grown up, they've been raised to be ashamed, and they're experiencing something called psychological transference, which is where they transfer their own colonial shame and guilt onto those that they think are the oppressors in another part of the world.
Well, that's certainly that's when it comes to like the white kid leftists, like the communists. That's absolutely the case because their whole thing is like, oh well, Australia did bad things to the indigenous people, therefore we've got to like destroy Israel today to stop colonial. I think that's kind of their mindset, right? Mm. But it's just I think it's just like too much focus on like shame and like I think when if it gets to the level of like I think it's gotten to the point. Oh, thank you, man. I'll have one. I think it's gotten to the point where like there's like so much shame about like the past of the West that like now nobody can even say, you know, there are actually good parts to like Western civilization and its history and our culture.
It's a really interesting point.
Which one?
Being told you're a victim is still a shaming, just in a different sense.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Well, yeah, you know what that actually relates to? The way the Chinese government teaches the century of humiliation shit in their classes. Like they tell every single Chinese person, like, we were humiliated by the West, we've been humiliated. The CCPs are the only ones who are, stopping the humiliation. We're bringing China back to like, national greatness. And you should feel like hatred towards like the people who did this to your ancestors and stuff like that. And it produces racial conflict. It produces like really bad fascist outlooks.
I actually did read an Ayn Rand book. I read The Fountainhead.
Listen, Con, like, I know the truth that Indigenous Australians were brutally treated. Of course, we all know that. But if the only thing you ever teach about Australia is like Australia is a terrible country, this is what happened, this is what happened. Like nobody is going to believe that Australia should even exist as a country, okay? You have to have some level of patriotism in the country. You have to have some level of saying, listen, Australia is not just Australia should not just be considered by the standard of the worst parts of its history. Of course not. If we judge every single country by the worst parts of its history, like nothing can exist. Nothing can exist. It's just it gets to the point where it genuinely is like full-blown nihilism.
Okay, so the real important thing to remember, I just want to speak to Con, is we need to talk about the difference between shame and guilt, right?
And
so guilt is actually about, the kind of the focus on specific actions, right? So specific actions are things that one can be guilty for, which is the truth that you're speaking of in history. Shame is something very different, right? So shame is more about someone's sense of self. It's a whole sense of self-worth and identity. And so if you want to hammer away at the latter, instead of dealing with the former, right? If you want to only focus on shame, attacking Australianism itself, as opposed
which is what a lot of people on the left are doing,
as opposed to attacking the guilt, which is, well, okay, a lot of fucking bad things happen for us to get here. There's definitely some reparations to be paid as we move forward, right? They're very different things, are they not?
Well, I get what you mean. That you can say, I'm sorry this happened in the past, but I don't think that we should destroy Australia as a result of it. Like that's a pretty reasonable view.
Reasonable.
But the problem is, like, if you look at like the left-wing theorists in academia and stuff like that, like that is genuinely not their opinion at all. Like their opinion is literally that Australia should be destroyed because of what it's done in the past, which is sick.
In my ideal education system, atrocities committed against Indigenous people should be taught to the best of our knowledge as to exactly how they happened.
Look, I think it should be taught, but I just think it shouldn't be the only thing that's taught to people. And I think
we didn't learn about it in my school, really.
I learned about it. Like maybe I came through the curriculum a little bit.
6 months or something of a little bit, but there was no like.
Well, look. Every single.
I know more about Dirk Hartog, William Dampier, and Captain Cook than I do about.
That's so different because like
tens of thousands of years of Indigenous.
Really, because it was so different for me. Like we did Australian history course, and really, it seems like we only ever really did Indigenous history. And like,
what did you learn?
We did Australian. It was solar generation stuff like that. And like, listen, when I did Australian history at university, like literally was the bad things that ever got taught. There was literally not a single positive thing about Australia in that course. Not a single thing in our entire history was a positive thing, apparently. And I think that's fucked up. That's what's being taught at one of the top universities in Australia in the Australian history course. There's literally not a single positive moment in our entire history. Everything's just evil genocide. If you believe that, then you just have, like, it's literally illogical. If you logically believe that every single moment in Australian history was evil genocide, like, you literally have to hate the country. That's the problem. That's the problem. And, like, listen, like, I think we should also be honest about the fact that, like, life for Indigenous Australians was pretty brutal and tough as well. Like, prior to colonization as well, there was, you know, it was a very harsh existence because it was hunter gathering, and some people try and make it out to be a utopia, and that's also not reality either. Like, you know, people died very early ages. There was violence and stuff like that. So I think we should also just avoid like any type of utopia night, because I see some people who are like, I see this stuff like there'll be posts that get like 100,000 likes on Instagram where it'll be like if only Indigenous people still ran all these countries, then the entire world would be perfect. And it's like, come on, like that's just like, that is literally just like blood and soil, but like from a different attitude, right? So
I mean, it's really ironic that type of thinking comes from people who are always yelling about ethno-states that don't actually.
Yeah, I know.
Ethno-states. Oh, what else did you want to cover before I go?
Yeah, because do I have to take you soon for the train?
Let me have a look.
Yeah.
I'm going to get off camera for a sec. You have fun.
Because this guy's got comments like, it's amusing to me that people think immigrants don't get taught about historical wrongdoings of Western countries. To be honest, like in all my history courses, like we mainly focused on like the bad parts about Australian history and Western history. I remember I did my foundations of law course at UQ, and I was really excited. I thought that we were going to start with like the Magna Carta and like the history of the development of liberalism and stuff like that, and then like no, literally it was just like 6 weeks on terra nullius. Like I understand that like terra nullius wasn't like a legitimate concept, but like, can't we just think that like is even a single good part to the Australian legal system, rather than just thinking that the entire country is based on theft? That's the worldview, and it's a toxic worldview. If you believe that, this is what I say to people, right? Like, if you say that Australia is stolen land today, then you have to return it. You literally like you can't maintain that while still thinking that Australia should exist as a country. And I want Australia to exist as a country, so I can't say that the entire history of Australia was illegitimate, because I love Australia and I don't want Australia to be destroyed. If you insist that the entire history of Australia was illegitimate and evil, then you can't like the country. You can't defend the country. I like the country. I want it to continue to exist. So I can't say that the entire history of Australia was wrong. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. It's interesting because we're going to talk about Israel, Iran, but we ended up just talking like an hour in like deep like racial history stuff and stuff like that. King Corinne says, in my mind, Australia is mostly desert. Dude, like basically there's like, honestly, like majority of the interior of the continent is desert, but 80%, but everybody lives along the coastline, and the coastline is like very fertile and lush and very nice. Brisbane is a very beautiful country. If you look up Brisbane where I live, it's a really beautiful country. It's a really beautiful place. I think the chat was too. I think it was too brutal how people were being mean to Josh. I think people were being too mean to Josh. Like,
were they?
I don't know. Like obviously we had like actual NSN sympathizers here and stuff like that, and they'll go like, "Oh, the classic Jew," because he won't immediately endorse like an Iron ethnostate. Like, it's just like there's some people who are just too schizo.
I honestly didn't even. I only really noticed the compliments. There were people repeatedly saying.
The reason I don't block Swindon is I have like a long-term project that I want to hope to de-radicalize this guy, but I don't know. He seems very stuck in his ways. Could be late, but they're talking about listen, I haven't studied the detransition thing a lot. I don't know what they're talking about there. Drew, did you know there were pro-IRGC rallies in some Western countries like the UK? I did, and there was stuff like that in Melbourne. I'm going to bring that up on the screen. It's so fucking annoying. Listen, this is my problem, right? Like, I genuinely think if you do this, you shouldn't be in the country, right? If you do this, I just don't think you should be in the country. I'm gonna put this up. This was Melbourne. Chance of we are at your side, come in Melbourne. This is the city you live in, man.
No, I'm in Sydney now.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I moved back home.
Daily Nash replied to me. That's funny.
What the fuck?
You know, Daily Nass is a huge YouTuber.
No, yeah, but this rally. This
I know,
is
it's fucking
relevant.
crazy, right? So this
What
is.
flags? Look at the. Well, it's all Palestine. Can we see?
Someone has a Singapore flag. They're literally not going to be allowed back in Singapore.
Is it an IRI flag or is it? Oh,
Yeah, it's literally the Iran regime one. Yeah, full Iran regime. And they're all wearing. Look, they're wearing like the IRGC headbands, and they said they were chanting "We're at your side." Right? This is mental illness, and also these guys should not be in Australia. Just straight up, if you are supporting this, you should not be in Australia. You're so clearly not assimilated if this is what you're doing. If you come from Iran and you like the country and you like the West and you like democracy, I love you. But if you're coming from Iran and you're literally doing weird, just like a many chance, deport. Sorry, deport. You can't be in
Devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Is there a high potential for these people to be radicalized here?
It's not going to happen, dude. Look. Unfortunately, the reality is it just won't happen because I've got experience with this. These guys are very set in their ways.
But they're kids, right?
Here's the other thing, though, as well, though. Is it really Australia's role to be like a social experiment lab where, like, we will try and pioneer de-radicalization of people who are really radicalized?
What might also be a social experiment would be bottling up all of the crazies in certain parts of the world waiting for wars.
True. But it's bad if these guys are if these guys particular in Australia, I think it's a bad thing.
I don't want them anywhere fucking near me.
Yeah.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, you know? Like I mean, I'm a...
If Cyprus was at war, you would be out on the street with your white and yellow flag. Dude, I'm Australian at the end of the day.
Don't even...
Yeah, I just bullshit. It's just bullshit. He's trying to accuse me of being dual loyalty. Dude, Cyprus, what does Cyprus have against us? What's wrong? What fundamental interests are like not aligned between Cyprus and Australia at the end of the day? Oh no, we have to protect like, you know, our close allies with Turkey. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think he's an idiot. He's not your friend, is he?
No, I'm not friends with Sunni. I've never talked to him before. He's always in my chats, and instead of banning him, I'm hoping that I can de-radicalize him.
Where's
But
he from?
I don't know, but he's actually, I think, NSM.
Sounds Australian.
No, he's Australian.
Best player on your team is best in it.
I agree with that.
That's the best.
I agree. Vietran is based, and that's why I made him a moderator.
Please follow my Instagram. We're gonna have a lot to discuss. I love it.
You're saying, but this is wrong, Sunni. You're okay. So Sunni going, you're saying they're bad because they have an assimilated because they're supporting their country. No, this is the difference. There are heaps of Iranians who do not support the regime in Iran. There are heaps of Iranians in Australia who do not support the regime in Iran at all. Greeks and Persians invented gay sex. Gay sex is a lot of fun. Okay, dude. All right, Con. All right, man. Thanks for joining us. Good stuff, man. He's enjoyed.
I like Con.
The Greeks and the Persians invented gay sex. This is fact check true, I believe. Lol, something happened between Josh and my education and Drew's education. We learned Magna Carta and other stuff with a bit on solar generation. Yeah, for some reason at my law course at UQ, we did not do Magna Carta anything. It was literally just terra knowledge and that's it.
Okay, so let's work this out.
Yeah.
So I'm 1991. You're 98.
I'm 99.
99. What's Dodo?
Dodo, what year are you? The gay sex connoisseur has spoken. A proud Greek has spoken. A proud Greek has spoken, my friend.
How are your stats?
Pretty good. I'm looking at the average now. Hang on. We've averaged 33. It's an okay stream today. We've got 43 people watching live now.
Competing with Origin.
We're competing with Origin. That's true. If you're watching live, guys, leave a like on the stream. Very important. You leave a like on the stream. Drew Pablo Show. We need your help to rise up. We've got how many likes on the stream have we got? We've got 32 likes. Guys, if you're watching the stream, leave a like. Very important. Extremely important. And I agree. Sub to Josh's Substack for normal people. It's for normal people.
People like you. 93.
Yeah.
Dodo, where'd you go to school? In Queensland, in New South Wales?
1993, okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too different to me.
The Greeks invented sex. The Romans perfected it by understanding that you could have it with women. I've heard people make that joke before. It's pretty funny, actually. The Greeks invented LGBT. So true. It's funny because like guys like Swindon think that like Jews invented like communism and being gay and everything. But that's why they hate Jews. They genuinely think like Jews invented being gay. The Greeks invented being gay. The fact is that the Greeks invented being gay. I'm Greek. I'm not gonna let the Jews steal my ancestral glory. The Greeks invented being gay, not the Jews. That's actually fact check true.
People who didn't care when the 2022 anti-regime protest was happening in Iran and all of a sudden now care about Iran. Oh, great question.
Yeah,
Mr.
of course.
Dunphy.
Yeah,
why do you think now?
Yusuf's actually goated. He's ex-Muslim. I'm pretty sure. He's a very smart guy.
That would have been really an interesting process to go through.
But
de-radicalization and just de-religioning or
even going away from
like
religion
I've got friends who have been Christians. I've got friends who were Seventh-day Adventists who stepped away. Obviously, like Marxists, recovering Marxists like myself, right? Stepped away. The de-radicalization process. I've never actually met. De-radicalization might be a bad word because I don't really know what your relationship with
what's Bassam Curbage? I don't even know what the guy's talking about.
That's actually still really interesting.
What is it? We've got a positive comment. I didn't know you were mates. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Josh has actually been on the Drew Pavlis show like 3 or 4 times, I think. Hello, Daniel. How you going? To on Australia always was a social experiment. How much poisonous stuff can we stuff to one island, or how many criminals? Okay, fact check true.
That wasn't Macron, was it? On the
wait,
photo,
what?
The photo of that person's
Daniel.
No, not Daniel. The next.
Oh, is that Macron? I think it's just a guy. There's a great comment. The average GPS school is kind of like Iran. Everyone is gay and anti-Semitic.
Sydney Grammar, Survivor, and
you went to Sydney Grammar?
But it wasn't. It was a bit of an outlier in a lot of ways. But
that's such a good comment. The average GPS school is kind of like Iran. Everyone's gay and anti-Semitic.
When I was like, I told you about I told Drew earlier why Dodo. I said I was a recovering. Yeah,
you've rejected Marxism.
Yeah, I'm also.
That's why you're on the stream. We don't really have many.
I'm also a recovering drug addict. You can't hold that against me. But I like the.
There's so much to talk about.
I told I was telling Drew earlier that when I asked my parents, why do you send me to Sydney Grammar if you guys are public servants? And my mum was just like, because I've lost faith in the public sector and you're not a social experiment. And my dad goes, you got to know your enemy. On another occasion, I was like, okay, so how did you pick Sydney Grammar then out of all of the, the boys' private schools? And my dad goes, it was the only one that didn't revolve around sodomy, rugby, and Jesus.
Oh, that's pretty good. Sodomy, rugby, and Jesus.
Needless to say, I get there. Everyone is gay. It's covertly a little bit Christian, and we're terrible at rugby.
So that's the GPS schools for you.
Yeah.
Con says I'm a recovering NLS member. NLS? What's NLS? Is it Labour? What's NLS? By the way, Drew, did you see the great famous meme debate of Greeks and Turks? I have. Let me play. I'll play that I'll play that before I've got to take Josh to the train station soon. But let me play the Greek v Turk debate. Very good one. This one's goated. I'll play it. The average Greek.
Yes.
Con wants to know what your Instagram is. I actually put it in my YouTube description. I think it's in the description of this live stream, Con.
Yeah, I've been posting it in the chat as well.
40 people watching live. Thank you, guys. Leave a like on the show. Drew Pavlis show is rising. Very important.
Is that coming up when I post it or not?
The link?
Yeah.
Shit, I don't think the links come up for some reason. I think YouTube has blocked all links in the chat for some reason. Yeah, honestly, the unholy alliance between like radical leftism and radical Islam is like actually so fucked up. Literally so fucked up. Like, and it's crazy because all the leftists in Iran backed the Iranian revolution, and then the Islamists slaughtered them all. Yeah, Wow Mao is a closeted tanky, which is a shame, but he is a very funny guy. I'll play this for the chat before I have to take Josh to the.
I am more white than you. You look gypsy. I am blonde hair. Blonde
I'm
hair,
blonde
and
hair.
gypsy.
You
That
gypsy.
means that
That means
someone
I
fucked your
someone
mother.
fucked your mother.
That is
That is
cooking, but your
Turkish.
father is
But your
not.
father is
Oh.
not.
Your mother is
Your
a
mother is a
god, and she
god.
got fucked
And
from
she got
someone.
fucked by someone.
You are weak
You
sperm.
are weak
You are
sperm.
weak sperm.
You're
This is the
weak
strong
sperm.
sperm. This is the
Wow.
Greek god. Okay, Greek god.
Okay.
If you have Greek God, you would have win, but you lose.
Lose where?
Lose where? Lose where?
Why is Hagia Sophia?
Hagia Sophia. Oh, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. We will recover it. We will recover it.
I'm just gonna look at when the next train is. Everyone, I'm actually,
Someone. Oh, that's fucked up. Someone's trying to make a. That's fucked up, Dodo. That's fucked up.
Drew Hidden Nazi going. What is it?
That's fucked up.
What's someone trying to make? Can I see?
See, that's fucked up. That's not even funny. That's not even funny. I don't even like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have Jewish friends who like make like anti-Semitic jokes about me, like, and I'm like, dude, you don't have to. It, like, it makes him. I don't like it. Yeah.
You know, man, it completely depends on the person, right?
You know, my friend Anthony does that. Our mutual friend Anthony, like, he'd be like, Drew, how about some shekels? I'm like, dude, you don't have to do that. It's not funny to me.
Yeah, it depends on the person, really. Like, I was talking
Yes.
to a mate yesterday or the day before.
I mean, I joke with my friends about being like a wog and stuff like that, but I get you. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's familiarity. There's actually like a friendliness and a familiarity. So like, I have gay, or like my sister, for example, she's gay, and
Yeah.
so like, there's kind of a. I wouldn't like, I'm not just gonna sit there and say like horrifying, offensive shit, but I feel like there's a level of like kind of joviality and sentiment that can play on.
No, I get you.
sexuality.
Yeah.
And like, I got, like the mate that I'm staying with in the Gold Coast, like if he's going to say anti-Semitic shit, it doesn't.
I still don't like doing it. I don't like doing it, but I get what you mean.
It depends though. Like if you're making
If you're like best mates, I understand it kind of, but like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like my friend Chris always goes like Drew has the fruit shop, and like it pisses me off a bit, but like I accept it.
So what about the driveway hosing stuff? Does that piss you off?
Oh, that doesn't really piss me off. I do sometimes get that people like, Drew, have you hosed the driveway today? I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Really? I thought I was like the only one who like.
It's actually a pretty good joke. I actually like it.
I've been around Greeks. I know that one thing that is like funny and endearing.
No, I like the
went to
washing.
check out a rental property in Sydney. About a year ago. And
Yeah.
shit, you not. There was this yaya out the front. And I couldn't get in.
The yayas.
She's like hosing down just like this flat, like concrete deck.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was a beautiful.
Beautiful. That's the Greek, man. That's the Greek tree.
But
the Bassam coat. Oh, now I know what the guy's talking about. Hang on. Let me quickly put this on the screen. This is really fucked up. Holy shit.
I had to like
Oh
inch
my
around the spray of this hose until it turned out it was actually her place.
Did
So
you hear about this, Josh? It's really unhinged.
Oh yeah,
It's really
Dude,
unhinged.
You don't know this already happened though, right? This is history repeating.
Oh my god.
Type in Trinity College, Sydney, Anaconda.
Oh my god. So they brought this guy in. I think it was like a Palestine activist at the Queer Arab Australia. Very particular, right? Queer Arab Australia. They brought him in to like give a talk. Do we need this? Do we need to do this, guys? Like, do we need to have a special Queer Arab Australia talk at every school? I don't think that's necessary, right? This guy, I think he just gave a normal speech, but then people looked him up online and he's like, it's like a gay prostitute or something like that. I don't know.
So it's funny. Trinity Grammar in Sydney,
Yeah.
had a similar thing. Well, not something else entirely different actually, but it's called the Anaconda. Right?
What's that?
It was some sex toy that these boys
Oh,
made to
fucking
like
kids.
psychologically fuck with each other. It was some sex game or something.
Oh my god.
Some dildo or.
So this is like this is one of the most prestigious schools in Australia. It's like $40,000 a year to send your kid there, and for some reason they got him to speak to kids from year 7 to 10 about different forms of love. But then they went to his Instagram page and he's like literally got like a. Yeah, I think maybe not the best guy to bring to the school. I don't know. It's kind of funny to be honest.
This is actually why I hate wokeness.
I think wokeness goes too far. Like I'm against homophobia, but do we have to have like a fucking speech where like the dildo guy? I don't know. I don't know.
That has nothing to do with being homosexual. That is just a man who lacks decorum and.
Yeah, I think that's it, right? Like there are plenty of like pretty normal like gay guys who wouldn't be doing that on their main Instagram.
I think 99 out of 100.
Yeah, like don't put that on their Instagram. So
Well, I actually don't think that like there is a fucking mental illness that only affects homosexual men and not heterosexual men that compels them to be retarded on the internet. I think like everyone is retarded on the internet. And that
It's true.
particular flavor of retardation is too depraved to be around schools.
look, my general take is just like if you do like sex work, like maybe you're not going to bring you to a high school. to
Does
give
he
a
do
talk.
sex work?
I'm pretty something like that. I'm not sure. I think that was his like OnlyFans or something like that.
Oh
No, I think he put like it as I think he might have a. I think the guy shows something like that, but he also just that photo in particular. I think was an Instagram.
right.
I think he put that on his Instagram, but I think he does like do gay porn and shit like that. So it's like I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to like. If you want to have like a speaker against homophobia, maybe don't get a gay porn star. I don't know. Like it's probably not appropriate for school. But
Yeah.
someone goes low key base, but also it's so retarded that it actually becomes epic. It's actually so retarded that I'm like, actually, you know what? Like I respect this level of retardation.
Oh shit! Actually.
Wait, holy shit! It was on his Instagram. It was a video, and he told the kids to look it up. Okay, that's fucked up. That is actually extremely fucked up. He told the kids to look it up. It's like grade 7 kids. That's fucked up. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know. The school needs to get in fucking trouble for that. I think. Holy fuck! Imagine you were spending 40,000 a year on that as your like your kids' school fees, and they get this guy to come out. Holy fuck! He told the kids to look it up. That's fucked up. I didn't know that part of the story. That's fucked up. Listen, how about I end the stream here? I'll take you to public transport.
Cool.
Thank you guys. Salute to you all. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Thanks for joining the Fortress of Righteousness, the Drew Pavlis Show. Joshua, thank you for being our first in-person guest.
Thank you for having
I'm
me.
sorry that there were some schizo Nazis in the chat who were harassing you, but there were overall some good discussions, I think. So thank you, Josh.
I'm weirdly okay with it.
We salute. Beautiful. All right, guys. All right. See you all. See you all. God bless. God bless. The Fortress of Righteousness is rising. John says good podcast. Thank you, John. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow for episode 65 of the Drew Pavlis Show. Beautiful.